Hey, it's episode 200. Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talking, they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, baby. 200 times.
200. What's up, BSers?
What is up, peeps?
Fred, Scott, Ryan, and Drew in the house tonight as James is enjoying the finer life.
Punta Cana.
Must be nice. Sent us a beautiful picture earlier.
A tad
from
too
the
late, James.
white sands, the beautiful blue waters.
What a Birdland BS shirt on.
I'm jealous. We wish you were here, James. Appreciate you all tuning in and joining us on this special night. We got a lot to go over. It's going to take a trip down memory lane. Get a little nostalgic. It's been, it's hard to believe, man. It's been 4 freaking years.
It has been. Well,
since this thing started.
You've been doing it for 4, and you and I have been doing it for 3 now.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. We're going to take a trip down memory lane, see who out there is really an OG, and who are some of you newcomers. We love them all either way. But we're going to have fun with this.
Yeah, some exciting things to talk about memory lane. And then we are going to get into sports. We're going to get into the Ravens as they see 2 players on the PFF's top 50 players list. But there's one big name that's not on the list, surprisingly.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that. And it has stirred up a whole bunch of crap. I'm starting to think that PFF did it on purpose.
I had to mute a certain person's name just because I was so annoyed at all the traffic on social media. It was crazy. The Orioles have had some injuries, but I also have a big name in a home run derby this year that we talked about last week. Exciting.
Davis was the last one, and then the previous one to that actually won. The only Oriole to ever win was Tejada.
That's right.
Yeah.
I forgot. That was in Houston, wasn't it?
It was. It was. Yeah, look at your memory. You're getting older, but you're still
like
memory.
An elephant. Never.
And then the Terps football squad, they get a commitment, while a former Terps hoop player is looking for a new home and ponders some pro dreams.
Yeah.
So I know Ryan's excited to kind of talk about some of this, and
I don't know how excited he is.
Well, there's one more.
There's one more nervous than anything.
There's one part of the news that he's like, I don't know about this.
So we got a lot to cover on this week's show. Like I said, it's episode 200. We're going to take a little bit of a trip down memory lane, go over some stuff, kind of just talk about where this thing started, man. This thing started 4 years ago.
Yeah.
In a spare bedroom. Literally, it actually started at my old job, right? A friend of mine, Matt Talley, good friend of mine, said, you know what? As much as you talk about sports, much as you know about sports, why don't you do a podcast? I didn't even know what the hell a podcast was at the time. I really didn't. I had no idea what a podcast was. And I started looking into it. I started following some people that did podcasts on Twitter, and I thought, you know what? Why not? Let's give it a shot, right? And it did. I started it with a buddy of mine, Ryan Hewitt, who still watches the show. Him and his wife, Christy, started out in just a spare bedroom. Let's take a little look back at some of the things. There it is. There's my buddy Matt Talley, good friend of mine. He was at episode 100 with us. He was with me through the show during its audio podcast days. Really, I guess through maybe like the first 30 episodes, I would think, maybe 25, 30 episodes before he ended up going in a different direction. He had some music things that he wanted to kind of discover and go after, right?
He's already in a Birdland BS shirt there. Look at that.
That was literally before we had even launched anything. And this is where it all started, man. The initial investment that went into Birdland, that was about $600 well spent there in equipment that has all been replaced since.
It's like 4 or 5 times that cost now.
Yeah. The only people laughing are the ones sitting here that can see all the equipment.
That's right. That's it. That's the spare bedroom there, man, where it all started 4 years ago, again, as just like an audio podcast. Eventually, This is where Scott joined into the
This
picture.
is right where I joined in, and you know that I joined in here because I introduced Fred to the Natty Bow Crab Shack Shandy that's sitting there on the table, and my Mountain Dew over there.
That's
and
right.
this was our first live draft.
Yes.
And
exactly right. I was going to ask you, I was going to have you a trivia. What happened on this night?
Yeah, there
that
you go.
Sent us into a panic.
who can name it? Either of you two name
when
it?
the power went out with
Yes.
When the entire power went out in your housing strip there. This
right,
was also,
like I think it was 3 picks before the Ravens were getting ready to select, and the power dropped on us.
and then this is also
terrible.
like this is not long after we had introduced the video version.
So this was our first go at video, was doing this live draft. We figured, you know what, we're going to go live for 3 or 4 hours during this,
See how it goes.
first round draft, see how it goes, see if the bandwidth holds up, that whole thing. And then we put in an investment into it. We made the studio kind of what it was. That's what just bare wood, man. We hadn't even put a tablecloth
No,
on it or
it was
anything
nothing.
yet. But that's the old bedroom.
And we weren't working off the Roadcaster. You see the little black iPad sitting next to me. I'm literally hitting buttons.
See,
as we're
Drew,
going.
there's all the minor league hats I was telling you about. I had in the back there. I had every single level of the Orioles.
I believe
there.
it now.
Yeah, this is about where I became a casual fan. I just started watching because I went to school with Scott. So as he got into the show and it became on Facebook is when I started catching this by accident and then becoming addicted.
My buddy Ryan there on the right, for those who've never actually seen him, he was on some of the video stuff that we did early on. It was the 3 of us that worked together. Ryan was kind of half in, half out. He never really fully wanted to do it. He supported me with it, and he got great opinions. He's very funny.
He's got some good takes.
Good dude. He's been a friend of mine for a very long time.
And he was on episode 100 to reminisce with us.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's take a look.
God.
Let's take a look at where this has started on video to where it's gone.
44.
I definitely was watching at this point, and now I'm kind of embarrassed that I used to watch.
Hey, you got to start somewhere. Again, this is 2 guys that literally, we were tech guys, so we kind of knew what we were doing.
We could make shit work.
And we could Google search really well.
Exactly.
Like Google search and YouTube
was our best
University.
friend.
YouTube never let you down.
YouTube was great. Then it took the next step. It went to a single cam shot.
Now
the
we're looking a
wide
little
shot.
bit similar. Now
That's
we're
right.
looking a little bit similar.
And for our audio people that are listening on a podcast right now, I apologize, and you should go watch on YouTube right now.
This is episode 57, so we're a little over a year in at this point. Just again starting to learn. We got a little bit better of a camera at this point.
We had started our Birdland BS Fantasy League because you see the belt there. That's now 3 years in the
That's a
running.
good pick out. That's exactly right. Then this is one of the shows that we did with the 3 of us with Ryan. Ryan actually in studio.
Where
with
was
us
I
there.
here?
You may have been home. This
And
may
why
have been
did
a
you
remote.
grab this screenshot? Because I look high as a fucking kite. Jesus.
You just wanted to give credit to John Scheffenacher.
That's right. Oh, that's exactly why I pulled this in. This was our first sponsor. This is when John Scheffenacher was gracious enough to sponsor the show, which he did for a little over a year when he was a realtor for Cummings & Co. now with Redfin.
Yeah.
Then we evolved again, just to another camera angle, a little bit more changes with the fire around the names.
Yeah.
Then there was this.
And I lost my mind.
This was the
Oh
first.
my God.
This was. Look how ridiculous we look. We look like we're in an alien spaceship.
Do you remember where this was?
This is like a Sci-Fi Channel movie started up.
This is terrible.
This is bad, but I really hope you pulled that first Christmas episode because that was terrible.
I didn't. I thought about it, but I didn't.
But do you remember where this was?
No.
This was the first episode we shot down here where we put the green behind us over here on the wall.
Oh, okay.
When we had that high top table that's sitting out underneath my deck now of like doing nothing. This was also around the time that we started the Monday Night Football.
Yeah, so I remember
around
that.
the same time.
This is when we first started tinkering with like green screen and learning how to get the lighting right and everything. And we did this for maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and I was like, "This has got to
ain't gonna work."
We look awful in here. This is terrible." And then eventually we got the partnership with Big Play, and it evolved into what Big Play's kind of format that they had already kind of built over the years. This
is the first
This is our COVID episode. Before we went completely remote, we did the show with masks on. Oh, man.
Jeez, man.
Eventually kind of came into this a couple of weeks ago as to what you see today. And then the final iteration of it as to, well, actually, no. Our draft day special.
I got a
There it is.
picture of me.
There's
All
your
right.
first picture,
There's
Drew.
Drew.
All right.
Our draft day special, which we appreciate each and every one of you guys. It takes the time to sit with us for 4 or 5 hours on draft day because it's a lot of fun for us. But this is what our last draft day special was like. It was not always this good.
Hey, Drew. Fuck you, Steven Severs.
That night was such a chore.
It was a long night.
And then this being the final product. So this is last week's episode. So to go from what you saw a few slides ago to where we're at now, these are the
We
kind
should
of
have
things.
grabbed an image of what the studio looks like now.
Right. These are the kind of things, man, that drive us. It's every week just trying to tweak something little, change something different.
Garnett started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Started from the bottom,
Which
now
is
we're here.
like
That's right.
About in the middle. We're almost to middle.
But man, over that time, we have met some great fans. We've had a lot of really, really good support.
The OG Lamar FX supporter.
This is 100% one of our OG fans. This guy followed us from the beginning, still watches our shows every week on YouTube.
Lamar's daddy.
Yeah, Stephen L. Jackson, if you see him on YouTube. Great guy, sent us this photo. Next would be the guy
James.
who eventually became part of the show, started as a fan, has also started as a friend of mine. I've known James for many years. Was just a big fan of the show, tuned in literally from episode 1 when it was just an audio podcast. And eventually became a part of the show.
Took Birdland BS mobile there, Progressive Field, seeing the Indians game. So
Out in Cleveland. Our good friend Ryan's wife, Christy, there with the Birdland BS sweatshirt on. Big supporter. Another OG.
This shirt's just in here because he wanted the sleeves cut off. He just wanted to show his arms.
Yeah, he's just showing. Used to be a little tone, and he had that gray and white there.
Another couple of OGs, family. Two guys related there. It's Bryce Jenkins and obviously Ryan, another guy starting as a fan.
And I don't know if I had actually. I think I'd just been a guest on the show at that point. I had not done anything like regular.
You hadn't.
I was
No.
just the Terps BS expert.
Yeah. And this, I'm pretty
Self-labeled, by the way,
sure.
self-labeled.
I'm pretty sure this is before you cried that day, Ryan. I'm pretty
Oh
sure.
yeah, I definitely got.
Oh,
way
is
too
that the
drunk.
zoo?
Yes, that is the zoo.
My God, that was
We'll
a day.
stop talking after that.
And of course, we can't forget our buddy Joe Carlozo.
Oh, you got it right.
Carlozo. Him and I there on opening day having a good time together.
Oh.
This one's backwards, upside down, whatever. But you might recognize his face upside down. This is one of our big buddies from YouTube.
He's hanging in the bat cave.
Yeah, Ingraven, man. He's a big supporter of us. He's been a big help with our growth.
Yeah.
Everything that I've ever asked of him.
Good content too.
His
Yes,
show
there he
took
is
off,
again.
yeah.
Him and I met up at the bank for a game there, sat together. I got him a ticket, so he came up and sat with me.
From Miami too, right? He
Yeah.
flew up from Miami, and I think this was the same year that didn't he? The Ravens brought him in to the training camp.
Yes. Yep, same year.
and had him come in. So
Yeah.
great friend of the show.
And the personality is all authentic, man.
Yeah.
He is exactly who he is on his YouTube videos in person.
And knowledgeable not just with the Ravens, but all
Yeah.
of NFL. There he is again.
there he is
And
again at the tailgate.
SG Sports.
my
And our
mortal
buddy.
enemy, Sonny.
You
Sonny and
guys
I-
do like to go at each other sometimes.
We go at it every time we're on together.
Am I allowed to say it's the tiny guy thing?
It could be. I was probably 2 sheets to the wind here. If that's a tailgate, which it is, yeah, I was feeling no pain at this point. Another YouTube guy, another friend of the show. That's Joe Nubo. Jose Verduzco, I think is how you pronounce his actual name now. But if you've been following him on YouTube for years, that's Joe Nubo at NFF or NF Podcast. Ryan, you were with me this night. This was at the
yeah.
Charm City Classic.
That was our first basketball game together.
Yeah, my buddy Kyle Andrews, formerly a 105.7 The Fan, formerly with the Baltimore Sun. He's done a whole lot of
and
work.
He's been on the show before too.
He has.
And he's now on Baltimore Sports Pub's podcast doing
Yeah.
a really good job.
Yeah.
That's really brand new, like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, guy is super knowledgeable about all local sports. Just a really good, genuine guy. Had a lot of fun down there with them. Do you remember this?
I remember this.
This was Baltimore. This was our first fantasy league that we did with a bunch of.
I didn't even watch this.
No, this is a bunch of Twitter contributors and content creators and whatnot. As
Good
you
old
see,
Chibs down there. There's
Chibs.
Kyle in the middle.
Yeah, Adam B. Moore. So if you're on Twitter, obviously you know these guys. KZ Fans Fantasy. This was our fantasy draft that we did together. This is going back, I think, almost 3
Cole
years
been on the show,
ago now.
too.
Yeah, Cole. We just had him on a few weeks ago. Now, so we've had some big moments. over the time, right?
Hey, Drew, can you
Listen,
guess what happened here?
he's looking
Hey,
good.
did you guys
He
run
sat
into
next to-
another catcher? Yeah. haven't stopped hearing
Yeah.
about it in the last
Fred
month.
was finally the second best catcher in a room.
I don't know. That's debatable. He was like old at that point. No. But now we've over the years, man, we've had some opportunities and some big moments for us. You know, to the outside world, it probably means absolutely nothing, but to you and I, they were big for us. And this was our first media access as media members with the Ironbirds.
Was this our first, or was this technically?
No, this was our first. Our second comes next.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
this,
right.
this was our first up in Aberdeen with the Ironbirds. There's Scott and I sitting in the press box. There's our media credentials.
Oh, my boys look
And
so official.
There he is.
Chris Oils.
Sitting 6 feet away. Chris Oils, the tractor mechanic.
He was socially distancing you back then, man.
Even back then he was. That was a lot of fun. But then, as you mentioned,
you go.
our second media event was with the Baltimore, formerly known as the Baltimore Brigade.
That was their last and final game. They folded.
Yeah,
once they let
the
us in.
AFL.
I'm pretty sure we kicked them out there.
that was like fun though.
It was a ton of fun.
That was of the two media events.
I'm sad that arena football just doesn't take off better because it's
No.
such an entertaining product.
It was. I mean, you and I were saying that you're in the media booth. That's one thing a lot of people know. When you're in the media booth, you can't be a fan.
Right.
And what I mean by is you can't cheer. You have to remain unbiased, and you're a media member, so you need to give an unbiased opinion or whatever. I mean, you and I are chomping a bit.
Yeah,
that was fucking good.
Meanwhile, we're sitting right next to the TV commentators that
For
were
the other team,
for the other
for New
team
York,
that were
yeah.
broadcasting that day. So that was a lot of fun. We actually got to go down on the field. We got to interview the head coach, Omar. He was not happy that night.
No, he was pissed.
He was pissed.
I never made it to a brigade game, but I used to go to the Baltimore Thunder games all the time. That was a lot of fun.
Arena sports.
The arena
Yeah.
sports are good.
It
but,
is.
But the Baltimore arena is terrible.
Yeah, no, that's
part
absolutely
of why
true.
it fell apart.
Now this might not have been a Birdland thing,
Those are
but
great
it was
radio hosts there next to him.
without Birdland, there would be no Shell and Tell. And this is a big moment for Ryan and I, big moment for Shell and Tell, big moment for Birdland BS. Ryan
It's a big
and I,
moment for Scott Van Pelt.
that's
Yeah,
right. Big
talking
moment
about.
for ESPN and Scott Van Pelt. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
I like where your head's
Scott
at.
needs to recognize
For those that don't know, that's
I
Ryan.
do.
the other one.
I know.
That's Ryan and I up in the upper left-hand corner. I am completely oblivious that Scott Van Pelt is right to my left.
Yeah. So let me give you the full rundown. So Fred looks at me and goes, slaps me in the chest and goes, "Hey, we're on TV." And I look at him because he slapped me and I go, "And that's Scott Van Pelt, like 6 inches from your forehead." They're not focusing on us, bro.
This is also where I believe you gave somebody
Yes, this is
a business card.
Yes, this is our connection for our biggest interview of Shell and Tell history. We met Ellis McKinney at that game.
There he is.
I
Look
looked
at that.
over. He was about 50 feet to our right, and I said, "Fred, that's
I didn't even know that picture was coming. I set that up and
That's-
spiked it.
that's Ellis McKinney." And Fred goes, "Ryan, I don't think it's Ellis McKinney." I'm like, "Fred, that's Ellis McKinney." And I pulled up my phone and showed him, like, "Look, he's like, if you're sure, it's like, leave him alone. Just leave him alone anyway." I'm like, "No, I'll leave him alone after I hand him a business card and then I'll walk away." That's why I paid for business cards.
Yeah.
I didn't have to be creepy and have a conversation, but he didn't let me walk away, and we had a nice conversation.
Yeah.
Led to this awesome show.
For those that
Great
don't
interview
know,
with
Ellis
you guys.
McKinney was an offensive lineman for the Maryland Terps at the time. We were both, all of us, anchoring down the flag on the flag
Yep.
drop together.
We were playing the left side of the line for him, man.
Yeah, that's right. Had a lot of fun with that. Can't forget our special guest that we had on the show.
Probably our biggest guest to date.
Yeah, our first Raven that we had on the show, Matt Skura. It was kind enough to take about a half an hour with us to talk all things.
Shot the shit.
Yeah, this is when he was going through his rehab and
Let me
bouncing
ask him
back.
the serious questions too. You were fretting on some of the questions I
Yeah.
asked. You were like, dude, you're really
Yeah.
gonna ask him that? I'm like, I'll be nice about it.
Yeah, Scott was trying to be like an investigator reporter. "Why are you off sides all the time? Why don't put the false starts?"
This was another big moment for Shell and Tell, another big moment for Maryland. If you'll notice, you probably can't see it because his picture's not formatted right. Maryland was down to the wire with 5 minutes to go, had a 7-point lead over Ohio State
yeah.
at the time. The best college football game I've ever been to in my life. It wouldn't have happened. This is where I met Ryan. It wouldn't have happened without Ryan.
Yeah.
And we formed a great friendship since then.
That
This
was
is where
amazing.
it all started.
Took him to overtime and blew it.
Yeah. Such a great game. And now, so we're at episode 200. This takes us back to episode 100 for you true OGs, you local OGs that actually came out with us. We had, 30, 40 people
50.
there? 50 people there that
people,
showed
yeah.
up. We had a lot of people come out to
Ryan
Pizza
bringing
John's.
his whole clan.
Yeah, this is not chronological because this is the announcement of Shell and Tell.
It
was.
That's coming. That's him and I sitting at the table as we're getting ready to go live for a 100th episode at Pizza John's. If you've never been to Pizza John's, what are you doing with your life? Their pizza's amazing.
The original, I should say the actual computer that's used is sitting in the background there. Now it's over there.
And there it is. This was the birth of Shell and Tell. This is where it officially became official as Ryan came up and made the announcement for us.
And we even took a vote for the naming rights.
That's
the crowd,
right.
The crowd named the show.
That's right.
I lost the vote.
But over the time, we've also had some things that we've kind of hung our hat on, right? I was one of the ones that started this whole hashtag of Lamar
You weren't one of the
effect.
ones. You were the one.
Yeah, it started
the one.
I created some shirts that, maybe we got a little kickback going. Maybe a certain guy wasn't too happy about.
Kaylee says, "Are we about to see Fred and Ryan skip
Don't
off
be
in the
jealous.
sunset together?
This
holding
isn't the
hands?"
time to be jealous, Kaylee.
This is our day.
Ryan looked super ghetto there, by the way.
This was the shirts and the gear that we had for a very, very limited time.
I think this was
Before we were
Steve.
told no.
This is Steve. This is Steve, yeah. And there's his beautiful daughter, Emma, with it on as well. Unfortunately, that is not formatted the right way, but, you get the idea.
Looks very much like a
And now we're back to the beginning.
Now we're back to the beginning. So let's go to slide number 2. And this starts... Also, another thing that's come good from this whole podcast thing is
Screwball?
we started the
I didn't
Birdland.
drink any peanut butter whiskeys until I started coming on the show. So.
This is all coming. You guys are jumping ahead.
Well, we weren't involved. we're fans too right now.
I know. That's great. But we started a fantasy football league out of this.
Yeah.
We've been running for 3 years straight. I've won it 2 out of 3 years, but who's counting? Whatever. This is the belt that we all
I only
invested
got
into.
in last year. You can't hold that above my head. And Drew's not even in
I
yet.
played Vanna White.
Yeah,
all
Drew
right?
was
Like,
just doing our draft board last year.
This was the
Sadly, both times I've lost to you.
This is the
got
first
third.
live draft that we had from my former basement. This was our second live draft that we did at
Miller's
Ale House.
in Bel Air.
Everybody there had a good time. That was such a good package.
That
too.
was a great
The food
deal.
and drink. If you're ever looking for a place to do your draft live, 100% consider Miller's Ale House. The setup is great. The food is great. The money is good. Just everything about it was great. It was a good show.
Well worth it.
And due to our sponsors that we've had over the last few years, they've introduced us to some good stuff. You guys have already talked about it a little bit. Screwball.
By the way, you're welcome for Screwball because I was the one that picked that out.
Yeah,
you
they
may
don't
have.
give us nothing.
You may have picked it out, but either way, that was a drink of
We
choice.
sold him out for a while.
Yeah, that was a drink of choice for quite a while, including these two making
peanut butter
their own
mudslides.
variation of it, of a screwball milkshake.
Yeah, it was
which
pretty
looks
awesome.
absolutely
In my Pat
delicious.
O'Brien's glasses.
It looks like a peanut butter mudslide.
By the way, if
Looks good.
you're in Orlando or New Orleans and you don't go to Pat O'Brien's, you are not living your life right.
I can attest to that. That is 100% true. That is 100% accurate. So another spot that our most recent sponsor came from started here. This was at Terrence West bowling event that he did. He did a bowling event for charity, which I went out for, and met Terrence West. Can you name that face?
Weddle.
There it is. Met Eric Weddle. But more importantly, I also met Jordan, or I met Jobeth.
Jobeth.
And he kind of talked to me about this new company that he was starting with MD Crash, and we started talking about sponsorship. So at this event is where MD Crash and that sponsorship was born. Can't see his face here, but that's CoCap, a young CoCap.
Yes, young CoCap.
Couple years ago, CoCap. Now, then came COVID. Right? Then came COVID, and Fred and Ryan and everybody else couldn't go to the games anymore. So if you can find me in there like in a weird Where's Waldo, I'll give you credit.
Like dead center?
Dead center.
Like second row dead center.
There it is. And then this was our first tailgate event that we did under COVID, which is a good time of all of the BS supporters. You got Buffalo Chuck there in the back and his wife Stephanie up in the front. You got Brittany, you got Kaylee, you got Ryan, you got the whole crew there. That was our variation of a
I think we were
tailgate.
allowed 10 people. We just decided not to count the kids. We're fine.
Yeah. Kids count as like one when you
Yeah, I
combine
have
them all.
twins. Is that one person?
And there's our shell and tell version of the
back there.
Notice we didn't sell as many.
Oh man! And this was our first back at the actual stadium outing. We still had to wear our masks while we were there. This was for the spring game just a few weeks back.
I guess other than our minor league game, it's the only other time we've been in any stadium. So it's still right.
Just
the minor league games.
Well, we've been to Camden Yards. But that doesn't matter for you.
But that was a great day. Got a glimpse of what the new team's going to look like. Got a glimpse of what a non-COVID life's going to be like. Hopefully moving forward, we'll see. Upside down.
The upside down trip to West Virginia. No,
trip to remember in Minnesota, right? Our outing that we had, these are just random outings that I put together. Our outing that we had at Top Golf a few years ago. Do you remember this? This is one of our first outings when we first got the shirts to go down to Camden Yards. Had a lot of fun down there. And that was your seats that night.
God, I put on weight.
Our most recent outing.
Drew's in here again.
Bowie, there's Drew. It's great. This was up in Bowie just a couple weeks ago. I had to bring this up. This was James eating popcorn as you and I were going at each other one night on the show.
It doesn't make you right even when you're loud or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Is that a Brian photo, I guess?
Yeah, it must have been. If it's not you, it had to have been. Oh, and this is Eduardo taking my picture. I mean, not Eduardo.
So those of you that don't know, Rich Dubroff came up to him and he called him Eduardo because he thought he was Eduardo Encina.
Hey, Eduardo.
And this is somebody here, Griffey in a ball.
You look just like Griffey.
A little wider.
After steroids.
A little wider. Oh, man, this was a lot of fun down there at that.
That was.
And this is photographic evidence of Scott's little deck. Of all four of us,
rail to rail.
That is rail to rail, Scott's little deck that we talk about every week on the show. There you go. So you get a full aspect of what it is.
You can fit Ryan on the right, on the left. You can fit Drew on the right. I mean, you can fit everybody.
And then I'm going to end it with this. This was with the greatest photo in Birdland BS history. Ryan on opening day after almost killing an Asian girl.
He's still spilling the drink. There's fluid coming out of the Angry Orchard.
Oh, my God. It's freaking great.
That was my only opening day, actually. I'd never been to an opening day before that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
judging by that memories.
It's crazy, man. Again,
I'd just done 20 push-ups on the ground.
Yep, and almost killed a small little Asian girl. She tripped over you. Oh man.
Well, look, it has been fun, and I know that we've got some questions later coming in the 2-minute warning that's going to ask us about the future, but we've been contemplating this for a little bit now, and we finally committed to making a decision. For those of you looking at the description of the show, if you're watching on YouTube or even if Facebook allows a description, I don't even know if it does, you might see something a little bit different, and you might not have picked up on it. But Fred, what did we change? Yeah,
so I mean, obviously, as you watched the evolution of what this show started as an audio podcast to what it's become now, it's kind of taken on a whole new identity from what it was, what the original idea was. It's not a podcast anymore. It's become a show. So we're just rebranding it. We're just calling it now the Birdland BS Show versus the Birdland BS Podcast. We're still going to be doing the audio podcast every week, so you guys will still get that for those that don't watch us live.
They're not going to be hearing this because they have definitely tuned out by now with all that picture talk.
That's true.
We'll have to re-announce this next week for them.
I apologize for all you audio podcast listeners. I will have to make a note as to when to start this episode.
Man.
But I mean, we're excited about the changes. Listen, this show is going to continue to grow over time. We've got some big plans for the future. So listen, it started from where it was to where it is now, and we just hope that you guys continue to support us and that this show keeps moving forward.
Yeah, we really appreciate you guys, and just taking a second. You know, we talked, and you guys saw some of the fans that are out there, they're regulars. You guys see the social media shout out. You see some of your names in there. For those of you that maybe have been around for a little bit, less time, we still appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week to watch us. This is fun for us. just getting up here and really shooting the shit. And sometimes I know we get a little stat stuffy, but we're trying to really, with the show, get away from that and give you guys back to the original idea behind the show, which was a lot of opinions, and you can tell us what you think BS stands for.
That's right.
That's what it's really about. So,
but cheers to everybody out there that has been supporting us either since day one or since yesterday. We appreciate all the love. Cheers to you, and cheers to everybody out there. Appreciate
cheers, guys. All right. Now that we're done the trip down memory lane,
let's do it.
I think you got to do your sponsor read.
And that's all the time we have for the day.
That's all, folks. All right. Well, before we start talking Ravens, then, ever been injured at work on an auto accident? Weren't sure who to call? 855-MD-CRASH, the Maryland personal injury attorneys that'll have your back. If you find yourself in an unfortunate situation, and I know I have, give our team at MD Crash a call right away. We all know the cost of medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering. It all adds up quickly and can potentially put you in a bad financial place. If you want a team that'll handle your case, big or small, and just give you some peace of mind, save this number now. 855-MD-CRASH. It's 855-632-7274. Be sure to follow them on Facebook for some fun giveaways, including tickets to, I think, a Ravens game. I'm pretty sure I saw a post on his page earlier today that he's going to be doing a big grand drawing for some Ravens tickets. So if you're not following the page, what are you doing with your life?
So just so I can mess with the host, just so you know, I've asked for everyone's favorite running joke on Birdland BS. So you'll see them popping up on the screen as we
I
go.
can only imagine what that is.
Yeah, I already knew that one was coming. Jesus Christ.
Cranberry sauce. That stays inside. That does not get talked about on the air. Kelly, I hate you. I love you, and I hate you.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit of sports here for a little bit. Moving on. Not a whole lot going on with the Ravens this week, but there was one big topic that just blew up on Twitter, and that was Pro Football Focus released their top 50 players in the league.
Why are we still listening to these idiots?
I don't know. But what's crazy is you do this, and I think they were the ones that said Marcus Peters was better than Marlon, if I remember correctly.
Sounds about right.
Well, yeah, this is crazy because we had two Ravens that were on this list. Just two. Marlon Humphrey was the first Raven at 29. So the same ones that just, 2-3 months ago said that Marcus Peters was a better cornerback than Marlon Humphrey have all of a sudden changed their minds.
Go figure.
Go figure on that. But he comes in third of all cornerbacks behind the Packers, Jair Alexander, and Rams, Jalen Ramsey. There were 5 total CBs on the list. So I think when you look at it, I don't necessarily, I don't agree, but I don't disagree. I don't.
In my opinion, there's no way Jair Alexander is rated higher than Marlon. In my opinion,
I think Jalen.
I think Alexander. Jalen Ramsey, rightfully so, should be ahead of Marlon. But I don't think Alexander should be ahead of Marlon. I do think Alexander should be on this list. He's a damn good corner. I just think Marlon Humphrey is severely underrated by the masses because he doesn't get a ton of interceptions. You know, he
doesn't get the wow stats.
Yeah, but he does. Like last year, he had 8 or 9 punch outs. You know, that he got turnovers. You don't see him in the highlights. Doesn't get a lot of pick sixes, that kind of thing. That's why everybody likes Marcus Peters, just because of that boom or bust, kind of mentality. He makes those huge plays. Marlon Humphrey is the epitome of the all-around cornerback, always trying to fine-tune his game. Listen, I don't have a problem with the rating on this as much as I do some of the other stuff, but I do think he should be ahead of Alexander.
All right, what did you think about the second Raven here?
I was a little surprised. Ronnie Stanley at 46, to be honest with you. I still think of him as being a highly rated offensive tackle, a top 3 left tackle in the league. Yeah. The problem is he didn't play most of last year because of the injury. We don't know where he's coming back from. So it's kind of hard to gauge as to where he ranks. If we're not taking the injury into effect and we're not taking the fact that he didn't play 3/4 of the year, then I agree with this. He should be in the top 50. Where he's at overall, 46. I'm not going to argue that.
No, and he was the 4th tackle. He was behind David Bakhtiari. He was 15 on this list. Trent Williams for the 49ers, who was 24. The Saints' Ryan Ramczyk was 28. And then the Saints' Terran Armstead was 43.
Armstead, I do not want him ahead of Stanley.
Biggest surprise here when it's tackles, Orlando Brown not making this list was a little bit of a head scratcher to me, considering what he showed last year.
Top 50? Nah.
Not really.
And again,
the right tackle.
Right.
Too.
When they're evaluating.
But he played left tackle for the second half of last year.
But he wasn't.
He's a right tackle.
Yeah, he's going to be a left tackle this year. He's going to be a left tackle this year. But again, he's got to prove it for a longer stretch. He only played there for 3/4 of a year as a left tackle. There are other better tackles than Orlando Brown.
So how many did I say was on this list? How many Ravens did I say was on this list?
3?
No, 2.
2. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
There's a big one that's missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lamar, nowhere on this fucking list. Are you kidding me?
This is absurd. I mean, there's 6 quarterbacks on this list, I think?
Yeah, it's what? You got Brady, you got Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, Wilson, Allen, and then the 6th quarterback on this list baffled my mind at number 50, Dak.
Yeah. Listen.
He got hurt at the right time. He had 5 amazing games and then got hurt.
Now, he is the 50th ranked person on this list. He's the last player on this list. But the fact that
You chose Dak over Lamar?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And an all-pro, an MVP isn't on this list, and you've got Dak Prescott on there who's been dealing with an injury, who hasn't been able to prove that he can come back from it yet.
Well,
It just doesn't make sense.
And this blew up all over Twitter, and they had to address it, right? So they then put something out, and it was like it was for clicks,
right?
This was total clickbait. The fact that he's not on lists, people want to go see it for themselves, so they get all these clicks, and then they put out another tweet. It's a picture of Lamar saying Lamar, should Lamar have been on this list,
Right?
And there's everybody saying if you're going to put Dak Prescott on the list, then yes, Lamar has to be on the list. Period.
Right.
So I think it was just asinine. It was total clickbait as far as I'm concerned that he didn't even make
Let's
this
go
list.
down this list real quick. Let's just look here at the last 5 players on this list. So at 50, you got Dak Prescott. 49, you got Levante David, the linebacker from the Bucks. 48, you got Marcus Williams, the safety from the Saints. 47, you got James Bradbury, the cornerback from the Giants. Again, ranked above Lamar. 46, you got Ronnie Stanley. 45, you got Stephon Diggs, which I personally think it's a little low for Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, that is
he
low
should,
for
he
him.
should be in the top 50 for sure. 44, you got Michael Thomas. Again, are you rating these guys based off of past? Are you rating them off of potential or what? Because Michael Thomas didn't play last year at all. How can he be ranked at 44 and Lamar not on this list?
No.
43, you got the tackle Terran Armstead out of New Orleans, who we just talked about. 42, Grady Jarrett, the defensive interior guy from the Atlanta Falcons. Yep.
Which what have they done really on defense lately?
Right. Now, this guy, 41, I think this is more of one of those under-the-radar guy. John Johnson, the safety from Cleveland Browns. He's a really good safety. I think he's a little underrated. But at 41, I'm happy to see him on this list. Not above Lamar. I'm happy to see him on this list. The interesting one here, 40, Josh Allen. So, again, another quarterback rated higher than Lamar who doesn't have the accolades that Lamar has, drafted in the same year. Yes, he had a great year last year.
Yeah.
But even if Lamar is at 51 on this list, is Josh Allen 11 places better than Lamar?
Lamar has one of the best records for a starting quarterback in his first several years. He's 30. He was 30-7.
Right.
Right. It's one of the. How does Lamar not make the list? And Josh Allen was really only successful last year. And to our point, he was only successful because they brought in Stephon Diggs.
Right.
If you don't bring in Stephon Diggs, we're not talking about Josh Allen.
No. That's 100% true. It's 100% true.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, I completely think this, especially the second half of this list, anything from 35 beyond, really. I mean, Alvin Kamara rated at 39.
Way higher.
Yeah. I think he should be higher than that. I think he should be top 20, maybe.
Right.
This whole thing, total clickbait.
Drew, what's your take on Lamar not being on the list?
It seems to just feed into the matter. You either really love Lamar let's go non-Ravens fans.
Yeah.
You either really love Lamar or no matter what he does, he could win a Super Bowl next year. Yeah, he's going to flame out.
Right.
And that seems to me that's what PFF, like you said, clickbait. You bought into that thing that's where it is with Lamar. It's either you're on the side of Lamar or you're a negative on him, and there's no white gray area in between. So it actually doesn't shock me because, like I said, nowadays it is just about clickbaits, but just fucking pathetic. Because then you go back with the huge argument I had a few weeks ago with J.K. Dobbins.
Right.
Yeah.
How you know what I mean?
Yeah.
you're the potential starting running back for the best rushing team in the league, but because another factor, Lamar is so good, you don't get looked at as well. It's the same. It just seems like he's a magnet, even though he does nothing to deserve
100%.
to deserve it.
Yeah. Ryan, what's your take on Lamar not being in the top 50?
I think he just hit on it. I mean, he's so good that he devalued his running back, but not good enough to be in the top 50 above these other quarterbacks. Because Dak's certainly not devaluing Zeke out there. So what's going on with that? So he's clearly a top 50 quarterback. They had to pick somebody.
Top 50 player.
Or top 50, yes.
He's definitely a top 50 quarterback.
Clearly a top 50
Definitely better than second stringers. But top 50 player. They had to pick somebody to be controversial, and Lamar is bigger than football. He is a icon across the nation, and that's why you had to pick him.
You know what's really surprising to me with all of this? Like, they just put out, what was it? Like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, they put out the top QBs on the list. This list doesn't even mirror some of the other lists that they had.
Oh, I know.
Right? They had Deshaun Watson above Josh Allen and Dak Prescott and Lamar. Yeah. And if you're going to make that argument, then where the fuck is he on this list?
Right.
Like, it's completely different people making the list, obviously, but it's also, these guys are supposed to be experts. It just makes them look stupid.
Yeah. Like I said, this is list after list that has been controversial. Now, listen, no list is going to appease the masses. No list is going to make everybody happy.
But when on a national platform, you have people going, what the hell?
PFF always finds a way to make, like, almost everyone go, what?
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Like, again, 2 years removed from being the NFL MVP. Not just the best quarterback, the most valuable player in all of football, and he's not in your top 50. Yeah. It's not like he had this terrible year last year. Did he have a step back from his year in 2019? Yes, but he didn't have a far enough step to go from the top number one overall player in the league to not even in your top 50. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's just when you look at this whole thing, there's a lot going on here, not just with him, but with fans in general. And RSR writer Darren McCann kind of went into this past week in one of his articles. He was talking about the fact that Ravens fans need to temper expectations for this team until they can translate success to the big games. And I get what he's saying, but I don't necessarily agree. Because when you look at this team, yes, the proverbial failures have been games under the lights and the big games that are playoff games, right? It's the games under the lights. You haven't had the full performance out of some of the big games.
Literally, it's just been the Chiefs and it's been the playoffs.
But like the Monday Night Football game, was it the Sunday night and Monday night where you had Mark Andrews that didn't step up in the spotlight. Both games.
Chiefs was one of them.
That New England
the
game,
Chiefs was one of them.
That New England game looks bad, but that was horribly that was all rain.
Weather.
Yeah, the weather was terrible.
They both play in it, but still, that was just not.
Yeah,
but even the game against the Steelers wasn't that great, before. So
our fourth string players were playing this year. If you're talking about this year,
This is true.
Wednesday game.
Fair enough.
This is really easy to shoot down right now. Let's go again.
He's saying that Ravens fans are spoiled, right? And he was kind of getting
I do agree with that.
We're spoiled as far as winning and having a winning franchise. And yes, but
that is our fan base. That is the state of Maryland fan base.
But at the same time, where does the blame lie, right? Because I think that's kind of one of the things he got into is you have to make the shift. And that's where I think fans are right? In that it needs to be in the mentality of this team of what type of scheme are we going to run. We need to run a more balanced scheme. We keep saying it, right? That's kind of what he's getting into, but I don't think you can say that temper the expectations. If anything, I think everybody's expectations are, okay, we added these things. In theory, we should be better than where we were last year. Where does that put us? Playing for a divisional championship.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I just think that we're reaching that spectrum of the Alabama fan base where it's national championship is meeting expectations, not exciting,
but we're not the Patriots.
Nuts.
We've won 2 Super Bowls in the 26 years that we've been around.
But we're just getting to this point where it's we won 14 regular season games and I'm sad because we lost in the playoffs. We need to win a playoff game. We won a playoff game last year and you're sad about that. I think there is a decent percentage of the Ravens fans that if you lose in an AFC championship game, they're going to look at this year as a failure. Yeah. And that's insane. Yeah. Yes, you're going to be sad that day, but you should look back at an AFC championship appearance as a successful season, no matter who's on your team.
Well, did you do better than that last year? That's what the question should be. Do we end up doing better than we did last year?
Go ahead, Drew.
No, I'm chiming in 14-2 and then losing to Tennessee sucks so bad for, like you said, a day or two. Then if you're smart and you're not a fanatic, dude, we went 14-2. You've never seen an offense like that in Baltimore.
It was an exciting year.
ever.
You should have been happy with it.
I was
exactly
right.
right.
More than happy. And then you thought, now that's when you think the sky's the limit. And I believe in Lamar. Yeah, you get spoiled by being in the playoff. What if you were let's be a Detroit Lions fan?
Yeah.
I know. Minnesota, any of these other teams that don't even barely ever sniff the playoffs, let alone a win.
Right, exactly. And every year there's 31 unhappy teams. There's 31 teams that didn't win a Super Bowl. There's only one, right? Every year. So if the expectation is to win or go to the Super Bowl even every year, your expectations are too high. And I agree with him in that sense that I think we need to temper our expectation. Should the goal be Super Bowl every year? Of course the goal should be Super Bowl every year. But listen, if we're constantly competing, we're constantly in the playoffs, we constantly can field a good a good team consistently.
Yeah.
Then you should be happy.
When Garnett chiming in, I think he was talking about a few minutes ago. Players voted Lamar the best player in the NFL.
That's a great point.
That's 100% right.
Their opinion is who matters.
Yeah.
There's another one here. Who is that? Sean? Is that Sean McMahon? It says success brings criticism, especially on a controversial QB like Lamar. Makes no sense, but you can't control stupid.
No, and I get that, but it's only controversial because people make it controversial. Right. It's the fact that because he's a little different outside of what the mold of what we're used to, that whole West Coast offense, that pocket style quarterback, that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, that we've digested for the last 25 years of our lives. We're so used to that. He breaks that mold, which others have tried to do before and have failed. So I get the hesitancy, but so far since he's come in the league,
he's put up way better numbers than any of those other guys.
He's done everything to prove that it can work.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I get frustrated too with the whole well, we need to change our entire identity and we need to go with we need to be more balanced and Again, I've said this multiple times in the past. I agree that we need to throw the ball more. We need to be more efficient with the ball through the air. We need to run better routes. But we do not need to have equal balance. We just need to be a little bit more aggressive through the air.
Yeah, no,
and that to me will take this offense to a whole nother level.
To your point last week, it doesn't need to be a balanced attack. It needs to be a more balanced attack than what it has been. That's as simple as that.
Exactly.
The last thing I kind of wanted to bring up was just the interesting piece this week, and I wanted to get your take. So Mark Andrews has apparently been working on his route running, saying that that's one of the things that he felt he needed to get better at, which it was interesting to me because I didn't see him as a bad route runner, I guess.
He's not.
I didn't think that was the case, but Harbs is him and Harbs are both happy with it.
Yeah.
So I was just curious to get your take out on that. And then, him attending this tight end university that was put together by George Kittle and Greg Olson. And I want to talk about Olson's comments in a second, too.
Yeah. It was funny. It was a lot of former Ravens there. You had Darren Waller there. You had Hayden Hurst there. Obviously, Mark Andrews was there. I want to say Eli Wolf was even there. There's a bunch of former Ravens there at this thing. This is what I like about Mark Andrews, right? Is again, he's one of those guys, like I talked about Marlon Humphrey, right? No matter how good you may be touted, no matter how good you may be, he's always looking for ways to improve and to fine tune his skill set. And if part of that area is focusing on route running, good for him. You've got two hella good wide receiver coaches out there, and Keith Williams now and T. Martin. Why wouldn't you use those to your benefit and try to improve in that area? And again, you got to remember, Mark Andrews is about to get paid, about to make that money, right? So he's, whether it's with the Ravens or not, he's going to, worry about that bottom dollar. And the better he can prove his game, the more money he's going to make. Yeah, and I think that's the thing is when you look at what he's doing to do this and, going to this tight end university where they're trying to do the same thing that some of the offensive tackles in the league have done, right? And on the defense, you've seen that as well. Right. Who was it a few years ago from the Denver Broncos guy? Wears glasses. I can't think of his goddamn name. Who was it? What position?
Linebacker.
Von Miller.
Von Miller. Yeah. When he did the same thing for the defense, is going to school and kind of taking them to school and that type of stuff, how to get better. But Olsen had a comment this week. Did you see this comment that he had regarding? He said, they were asked, tight ends are asked to do a lot of the same things when it comes to blocking that you have some of your tackles doing.
Left tackles.
Right? Yeah. Your left tackles especially. And the left tackles are making all this money, but yet you have the tight ends being asked to do the same thing, run routes against slot receivers, run routes against edge guys if they're out on the outside, if they're running the outside route, but yet they're not getting paid like any of those guys.
Yeah, this is why I see a salary cap increase of significance coming, because he's got a valid point. I mean, there should be more balance in pay structures between positions. And if you're asking a guy to be an offensive weapon in the receiving game like that and go up against these 280-pound, defensive ends and outside linebackers and chip and block, yeah, they should be paid accordingly.
And then Chris Johnson followed up after Olsen's went viral and said, if you think that's bad, at least you get to play 15 years. A running back only gets 3 to 5 years of it, and we do all of that plus take more hits than anybody else on the team, plus carry the ball. And
we get the franchise tag almost more than every other fucking position
every time. Exactly.
This was Chris Johnson, the former Titans running back. Interesting.
It's just really true. There's a lot of, when you look at the comparison, underpaid people, because it's weird who gets paid and who doesn't, and because of the way the franchise tag works, it takes a majority of people getting paid for that franchise tag to not be overly valuable. Right. So until you get like 4 or 5 ridiculous contracts at that position, the franchise tag is going to just be overused because you're paying the average of the top salaries, and all the top salaries are still underpaid.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I agree with you. There needs to be a better balance and structure with salaries, and I think that's coming, and it'll probably happen over the next couple of years. All right, Ryan, it's episode 200. I know probably a lot of people got bored with that slideshow that we had out there, but it's a lot of fun for us. Who's still out there? Who's been chiming in, and what questions
we had early often commenters, which made up for it. So we had Garnett West with the first on the 200.
Hey-o! Appreciate it, Garnett.
Out 200 firsts for you, but it was just too much work. I just gave up. So his comment, he had a little off the wall, which we're going to have to go back. We're going to have to pay attention. His favorite inside jokes was more of like a, yeah, no, maybe, that we've corrected ourselves. His is Scott's what ifs. I swear he should have his own segment. So I'm going to be paying much closer attention because I can kind of
That's a good pull, Garnett. I like it.
Come up with what Scott does that a lot. Well, yeah, that's true, but what if?
Yeah. Oh, the what if.
Scott's role on this show, if you haven't picked up on it yet, is very much the devil's advocate player. He is definitely the bad guy. He is the Stephen A.
What if Lamar effect doesn't work?
He is the controversial. I've kind of pigeonholed him into that role over the years. So. Good that somebody caught up.
We've tried to reverse it, just doesn't work.
Nah.
So yeah, we will name that the Garnett West segment if we can pull that off.
GW.
You know what really grinds my gears? It'll be like Scott's what ifs. What if we were the leaders?
God, that sounds like a good segment. I love it already.
Chuck Summers, James, David Missler, who's watching us while watching a Flying Squirrels game. Where I'm assuming that's minor league baseball. I don't know baseball. You know that. Stephanie Hemling, Steven Severs, Kaylee, Sharing Sherry, Mr. Chandler, Sharon Donahue, Joe C, David Big Play, who said he loved the space show set. I don't know if he had. Caught that moment in time.
That was before he was affiliated.
He would not have affiliated with you with the space show set.
Gonna need some improvements there, fellas.
Jessica Blake, Nick Short, who his favorite running joke is, of course, AB. So he's making his own running joke.
Yeah, right.
He is his own running joke.
That's exactly right. I love it. Appreciate it, Nick.
Lamar's daddy, SLJ, is out here. Troy H, who was like straight hype manning us for a couple of minutes.
I saw that.
You guys saw it. Birdland BS doing it. Holding it down.
Love Troy.
I think I already said Steven Severs. I don't know why I wrote it down twice. And Sean McMahon.
So yeah, Sean McMahon said, love how you guys really bring in the viewers into the show. And we try, man. And listen, we get a lot of people commenting. We've got a lot of stuff that we talk about. We try to pay as much attention we can to the chat room and involve you guys as much as we can. So we appreciate your support, and we appreciate all the comments that come up every week. All right, Scott, it's time for some bros, bows, and O's. Tell me something good.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a whole lot if I'm being honest with you. All
right, at least you're honest.
But the as of today, 25-54 overall. They're last in the AL East. We are now 23 games back. Last in the AL by 6.5 games. So 6.5 games away from the next worst team. That tells you something. And then now, second worst record in baseball. Arizona is keeping that worst place in 22-58 right now.
Can I ask a serious question? Where's Ja? Where's Jahami Jones?
We're going to get to that, all right? Because the injury bug has really hit the Ravens. Or not, it really hit the Ravens.
Don't hit the Ravens. Don't.
No.
Knock on wood now.
He didn't say that.
Glasses
He didn't
empty?
say it.
This is Scott's last show.
Yeah.
What if the injury bug hits the Ravens? No, it hits the Orioles. It's hit the Orioles. And it's really apparently deeper than we think, right? This past week, Freddie Galvis goes down this weekend with a leg injury, running out a bunt single, by the way. Placed on the IL, strained right quad, expected to miss 1 to 2 months. And we
That
think
sucks. That's a big blow, man. Freddie Galvis, the guy that when he first came over, I was a little hard on in the first couple of weeks. I didn't see the defensive prowess in early on. He really wasn't making good contact. But I'll tell you what, that little guy, he's got good effort. He reads the ball off the bat well. He doesn't have a ton of speed, but somehow he's kind of got that. I'll never compare anybody to J.J. Hardy because J.J. Hardy is his own guy. But J.J. Hardy was that same way. Didn't have a ton of speed, but he had a good eye off the bat where he could judge a ball to a hole and get to the hole close quick. And Freddie Galvis is that same kind of player.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is where we thought maybe, okay, Jemai.
Where's Ja?
It's time. It's time. But nope. And some of these moves got me scratching my head. People are scratching their heads. In reaction to Galvis going down, they pulled up Domingo Leyba.
Who?
Exactly. I had to look it up. We picked this guy.
Bless you.
We had to pick this guy up back at the beginning of June 4th. When we picked him up, he's had 51 at-bats in the major leagues last year.
So this explains
and a few years prior. Guess what he's batting?
Chris Davis line.
Below. 137.
The CD line.
He is batting he's batting 137 and 51 at bats. And I know it's 51 at bats, but that's not exactly the smallest sample size. I mean, you got to figure he's gotten into pretty much 15 games at this point, 20 games at this point, and you're only batting 137?
Drew.
I'm not going to sell you on the guy. I'm not sitting here saying he's going to come out here and be like Jonathan Scope or something and come out of nowhere and play second base and be a really good player. But you're talking about he came from another bad team, and I looked into him. Yeah, it's 50 at bats, but it's also because he also wasn't a starter either. He was a defensive replacement type. He was a pinch hit type, spot start like a Pat Valleca, for instance. Now it's only 50. When he came into our system this last month or so, he's done really good, and I've heard a lot of high marks for him.
He's been in the system a little over 3 weeks at this point.
Yeah, so small sample size, yes.
Very.
But there's a lot of times, and I'm not saying it's anyone necessarily in this room, but there's a lot of times I've heard royally. No, I don't mean as a joke. There's a lot of royal
waiting for a catcher.
Yeah. Or I've heard when Mountcastle was starting off slow this year. Well, he's only had 175 at-bats, 200 at-bats. I've heard it with Stewart, where he's only had, I know 50 and 200.
Yeah, same thing. I was quick on Freddie, and then he came around.
So my point is, you're not going anywhere. We already know that. So a guy like him should be the one that's starting at second base or wherever every day, and not a Pat Valleca or a Stevie Wilkerson.
Ramon Urias.
Ramon Urias. So yes, you could look at it and go, the fucking Orioles, here we go, a guy that can't bat 180, but he's only had 50 at bats. When that's the point of this season, to play a guy like that, because there's guys that are down there like a Westberg or Henderson that are not ready yet.
Let's call a pig though. At the end of the day,
I'm not a pig. You don't have to say it.
my
I ate a lot for dinner.
My question is though, was this a move bringing him in off of waivers, intentional to keep Jones down at AAA and to not start his clock? Because at this point, he's only had a little exposure at the MLB level.
Last year, he had a little bit of exposure last year, and it was for, I think, 2 or 3 games, and it was late September.
Yeah, right. So his clock has not started yet, right? So to me, this seems intentional, and I'm not harping on it. I'm not mad at it. I understand the bigger picture with this, and I'm fine with losing this year. I really am. I still watch it. I still have fun. I still hope that they win, but at the end of the day, I know reality, right? But my question is, do you think that this was intentional to keep Jones kind of under the radar until maybe September.
Not saying it's impossible, but I don't think so.
No.
Because when you get a guy like this, are you really like when you pick a guy up like that off waivers? Are you really going to go? Well, he's going to be starting for us next week. No, if he gets down and shows something, then that's a different story. Then it does it become, well, if I start this guy, that I can wait on Jahmai Jones until August, September.
Let me ask you.
I just don't think from the get-go that's the case. If it's the case after the fact, maybe.
But let me ask this question, right? You have this guy who has very, very limited side of things, very limited upside so far at the major league level. It hasn't really translated. He's been through, 3 different teams now, 3 or 4 different teams, I think, at this point. Is that really a better option than a Stevie Wilkerson who I know, hear me out for a second. I know that you don't like Stevie.
He loves Stevie.
I like Stevie because Stevie is versatile and he plays hard.
But he's not good at any one thing.
Yeah,
he's okay at a bunch of things.
I could play all
I'd rather have somebody that's okay at a bunch of things than horrible at a lot of things but only good at one.
Depends on if you only need him for that one thing.
I don't.
If he's really good at second base and that's what you need as a second baseman, who gives a shit if he can pitch or play outfield? If you only need him as a second baseman,
you're already pigeonholed on depth in the outfield because half the outfield is injured.
Yeah, we got a lot.
Right, that's the other thing that's coming out of this, right? So Stevie Wilkerson and Connor Wade are optioned in Norfolk through all this. Ramon Urias gets the start at second. Then they recall Ryan McKenna, which had me scratching my head. Stevie Wilkerson provides you more versatility than Ryan McKenna does. Ryan McKenna's an outfielder. It's as simple as that. I know he's played a little bit of third base, but he sucks. At third base. I wouldn't put him there. But Hyde was asked about this, and he said, we just need to get a little bit healthier, and we felt it was important to get some healthy bodies in here. Hyde said, Freddie gets hurt yesterday and pretty banged up around the field. We have 2 or 3 outfielders right now that are playing through some injuries. And the add of Ryan was important from that standpoint. Santander, you got him coming off that sore left ankle. He's still not 100%. They finally admitted that.
So sad.
You have Austin Hayes, who's been playing sore he's strained both hamstrings now at this point. But part of that is because he plays all out.
Still had a big home run last night.
He did. But you're really kind of starting to get pigeonholed into what you have.
Yeah.
Right. So it's either you have to go get these guys off waivers, you have to go with some of these guys that you don't like, or maybe you see what you have with some of these guys. You have some good pieces at the major league level right now with bats. What happens if you start bringing some of this pitching?
But we really only have 4 good pieces at the major league level. It's like your top 4 hitters. Beyond that, it's terrible.
They had 10 hits last night out of the 15. That was the top 4.
It was all the top 4.
Yeah. And I get that, but some of these guys that are at the lower levels, what if you bring them up now? You start doing better. I'm not saying they need to go on this winning spree with this low end team, but I think you get a better judge of how close you actually are because the way things look right now, some of the pieces at the major league level, just a few, and a lot of these pieces that are really coming together pretty quickly at the minor league levels, especially in Bowie and Norfolk. I don't know that we're as far off from being competitive as we originally thought.
Oh, no, we're not.
I'm seeing. So why not bring some of these guys up and find out if I'm not saying you need to bring them all up, but can some of these guys make the translation over? Jahmai Jones is a prime example. Yeah. He's in Norfolk.
Yeah, that was my entire argument from the beginning.
Why not bring a guy like him up? I know that you don't really see it, and it's a question of whether you want to do it. I think after the All-Star break, if things are continuing in Bowie the way that we are seeing them, I'd be interested to see what Grayson Rodriguez can do at the major league level. Start his clock and see what he can do.
I really don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen
this year. It doesn't happen until September, just to get him get his feet wet and get him a little bit of exposure. I don't think you'll see any of those
for opening day next year. So
I mean, probably not. I'm just saying, if they're going to give him any exposure, it would be later in the season. But you're right; he's probably on an innings limit at this point, and once he hits a certain limit, they're going to cut him off.
But there was one move that was made this past week that I'm interested to get your take.
What's that?
As a catcher.
I played catcher once in my life.
Hands down, my favorite.
Did not know that. Fuck, I swear I thought they were pitchers.
I was a pitcher.
How happy were you to see Chance Sisco get DFA'd and then get claimed off waivers by the Mets?
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm happy. I mean, Chance Sisco was one of our top prospects at one time. He was a guy that I had high hopes for. I mean,
he hasn't really done much past 2.5 years.
No, he hasn't. And did I get tired of that experiment? Did I want to see some more catchers come up? Yeah. Was I happy? You're never happy when a top prospect doesn't work out, right?
No, but I'm happy because we were seeing the blocking, right? He was blocking Austin Wins. Austin Wins comes up. What's he do? Wins is doing better.
I think it was the right move. That's I'm trying to answer your question.
Okay.
I think it was the right move. It was the smart move. It was the inevitable.
Yeah.
Am I happy about it? No.
We one step closer to Adley?
I guess that's one less body blocking him. Right? I mean, listen, Adley, again, just like Grayson, he'll be opening day of next year or maybe, we'll see. Maybe they bring him up in September again to kind of just get his feet wet and get some experience. But, I don't have any expectations for seeing any of those guys this year. I really don't. And for the fans that out there, I know we all want it, right? We all want to get to the end. But when we said that this was going to be a full-on rebuild, we said that this was going to be a 3 or 4 year process. And I think people now, what are we in the second year of the rebuild, just over the second year into the full?
You can't really count last year.
Yeah, really, last year is basically a wash, right? Because none of these guys got any experience in the minor leagues and all of that. So we're playing a year behind. Give this another full year. I know it sucks. Nobody likes to lose. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier during the Ravens, right? This state, this fan base as a state, it's not just a Ravens thing. It's not just an Orioles thing, man. We only tend to support a winning product. I mean, it's evident in the stands when you go out to these stadiums and they're empty, right? There were more people in Bowie watching the Bay Sox because why? They're winning, and that's where a lot of the good talent is. And it's sad that we can't get these fans to only come out when the team wins. I hate that. They want to gripe, they want to bitch, they want to moan, they want to complain, but you got to get out there and support your team.
Hey,
win or lose.
I don't want to detract and we stick on it too long for what I'm about to say. When I was on my way home, some guy had called in a fan called in and said, "Hey, we strike while the iron's hot and Trey Mountcastle." Like, what the hell are you talking? Why did you not screen that call better?
Oh, wow.
Keep going.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go down that road really quickly.
If we trade?
No. Let's just go down that road because I do want your guys' opinion on this, right? So
where's the line?
I've made it clear that going into this season, no names are completely off the table for me. The phone is open for everybody. Now, obviously, there is a class that it's going to take a monster haul for me to want to move on it. Are there any names? Now seeing how well Cedric Mullins is playing, now being a left-handed hitter all the time, committed, not a switch hitter anymore. The kind of streak that Mountcastle's on, showing that he can actually hit the ball on a consistent level here at the major league level, regardless of his defensive, blunders. You got John Means, who, when he's healthy, is one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. You got Trey Mancini, who's still a great player, and obviously, the feel-good story with him, the clubhouse leader that Trey Mancini is. Are there any names that are completely untouchable right now?
Honestly, to me, all the names you just named
are untouchable.
And here's why I say that, because Cedric Mullins, you can build an outfield around Cedric Mullins. You can build a...
God, I love it. Because just 8 months ago, you were like, we couldn't get a bag of balls for Cedric Mullins.
We couldn't the way he was playing. We couldn't. But he's turned it around, and he's showing consistency. And his defensive prowess in the outfield has gotten much better. I've seen a better arm out of him than we did when he first came up. He's worked on that. If
there's any knock on him, it's his arm strength. But
out of every guy that we have in the outfield right now, Santander, with the injuries, that's a giant question mark. Austin Hayes is a question mark with his injuries, and he looked good. He looked like he could be that guy, but he just plays too hard to an extent. And DJ Stewart, I don't know what the fuck he's on this squad, to be honest. I hate the fact that he's here. Does he do good with the bat every once in a while?
I love he's got a sweet swing. I know he doesn't make contact all the time, but he's just got like that traditional like left-handed swing. When he makes good contact, it's pretty.
But yeah, so all right, so you got that. Trey and Mountcastle. Trey, I like him at first base. I like him as our everyday first baseman.
For the future.
For the future.
What's he at? Because 28 years old right now? 20...
Is he 28 or 26 or 27? I thought he was
Ryan can look it up. Okay, keep going.
But yeah, so...
30. He's pushing 30.
Nah, he's not 30. He's like 28, maybe 29.
We'll get the answer. Give me
All right.
Good.
Well, but anyway, so with him, he's a veteran in that clubhouse. He's a guy that you can have that's been here from the get-go, knows how this team's operating, knows
That's
the
why
bad
I
times and the
asked you,
good
'cause
times.
you value that veteran presence.
I do.
Drew is
I do.
closest at 29 years old.
29. okay.
29. All right. So
I said pushing 30.
That's you got exactly right.
Knowing, hold on, just real quick, just going back to trade
Yeah.
real quick, knowing that this rebuild before you're like really competitive is, let's say, 2 more seasons away.
I don't know that I can say we're 2 more seasons away because with every
You think this team will be competitive next year?
it depends on what comes out of
Come
it depends
on,
on what
Scott.
it depends on what
Come
comes
on, Scott.
it depends on what comes out of September.
Nothing's coming out September.
If you see guys like Grayson Rodriguez,
Rafael Palmeiro's not coming back. Cal
Grayson's
Ripken's
not coming up in
back.
September because he'll be at his limit by then.
And there'll be
I don't-
zero
the way
people
he's
in
been
the game.
the way
Still
they've
be
been
the
pulling him out
Ravens.
after 5 innings every game, I don't know about that.
Every stud gets pulled out after 4 or 5 innings in the minors.
Right, but so that so that they can get into if they think they're going to get him into the games later to
don't
get
want
him
him to
out.
have
We'll,
Tommy
we'll talk
John
about
at
it later.
21.
Anyway,
Okay.
it happened with Dylan Bundy, huh?
Finish up your
Anyway,
Dylan Bundy.
anyway, the other side with Mountcastle, he can play first base. His defense is but he's in a league that you're playing DH. He's looking like a solid DH candidate.
Okay.
He can hit the ball. You don't have to worry about him from the defense. He's got power, right? He's got power throughout the entire field. He also can make contact when you need him to. He's come up in some big moments for us. I think those 3 guys and Means.
You're not even listening.
What?
No, he's asking.
I'm asking you, you're not listening to offers. You're not even listening to offers.
No.
for these guys
That was
at all.
kind of confusing, too.
Yeah.
I won't lie.
that
He's like, you're not even listening. No,
listening to the question. I thought it-
In my head, it made sense, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Glad Drew backed me
I
up
thought
on
he was
that.
just trying to
I'm
start an
sorry,
argument.
I'll
for the-
listen
All right.
better.
That doesn't happen very often that Drew's backing me up, so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Drew.
rarely.
Before Drew gives a long answer, let me jump in here. I don't understand. I don't know baseball, so I'm not. But I do know that you can only get better by either drafting or trading. And if you're not trading anyone, then you're not going to get better fast enough for this.
No,
to
but
work.
see
Wrong,
that
you can get better by building.
The double-edged sword to that is we're talking about the cream of the crop in your prospects, right? Your top 4 or 5 players that you already have. They're already developed. They've proven that they're top 4 or 5. Yes, you could turn that into somebody else's 2 or 3 best prospects, maybe. But there's no guarantee with those prospects yet, right? So it's the gamble, it's the risk reward, proven commodity versus potential. And when do you stop? Right? When do you say
Where's the line?
When do you say between what we've got at the major league level and what we've got coming up through the ranks, we're going to field a team that we can then fill in the gaps with some free agents and be competitive again? Drew, what's your take?
So Mullins to me is kind of like Jones. He can be that cornerstone center fielder. So and he hasn't even reached arbitration yet. So he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I can see him where you're saying at the end of the tunnel. He can be at the end of the tunnel. Hayes, that's iffy. If he stays healthy and he can do what you've seen him do, he could be your left fielder for a while. But
stay
he
healthy,
could also tank because of injuries. Mountcastle's a rookie. Come on, that he's literally, unless he takes a literal drop and looks like the beginning of the year forever, which obviously it looks like he's learning and trending in the right direction. Obviously, you can look at him as a cornerstone. Santander, sadly, I thought like he would have a really good year, and then that he would be trade bait. So I don't think that's happening. I think with him, I think that's going to be a thing like where they just let him go at the end of the season because I don't think he's going to be healthy enough to trade in July.
I know the Marlins had been knocking multiple times.
Okay, unless
from
there's
what
just
I've
something
heard,
where someone wants to just say "fuck it," I want him so badly. I guess
that's the thing, and the Marlins are loaded with pitching prospects, so I wouldn't be completely shut off to that.
So Stevie Wilkerson obviously get traded. We're just
How about Mancini and Means?
Wherever-
the 4 M's.
wherever-
Let's
okay.
focus on the 4 M's.
Can Stevie Wilkerson have a Cedric Mullins turnaround?
I'll save no.
No.
I'll save the best for last. So
Stevie Wilkerson could turn into a Steve Pierce.
yeah, he could have his own podcast at some point.
Did you not like
Episode
Steve
3.
Pierce either?
I always had a little. Pierce was all right. He
Professional hitter.
He fit the mold. It's like go play second. I don't know how to play second. Too bad. And I'll play it all right. Let's go.
right.
So I'll save
World Series MVP.
I'll
Yeah,
save
exactly.
the best for last, and that's Mancini. With Means, here's your sticky situation because
Sticky.
Keyword. You
Sticky.
still have him on arbitration for the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. But what the hell is going on with the arm?
Did anybody just comb over the fact that Ryan had baseball knowledge?
What, the
sticky situation?
That's how I just open doors. He's the caveat because, yeah, you could see him being the ace that he has been anyway. And he could be the ace at the end of the tunnel that goes with, like we've talked about, that goes with Rodriguez and Hall and whoever else at 4 and 5. But the arm issues worry me. And now this year, with that issues extending into the past All-Star break, they've at least said, I don't know if you're not going to get the offer you want with just a couple of weeks before the deadline. So he'll at least be here next year, and then if he can do what he was doing and not have any arm issues, then by next deadline, you're getting a haul for him. The elephant in the room that everyone is going to be, you're going to have an opinion on whether you hate it or not, and to me, Mancini's probably going to be gone. Probably should be gone. Yes, it's a great story. We're going to get to him with the Derby soon. But the problem is, obviously we've said it before, you're not going to just say, all right, yeah, I'll take your number 10 prospect and 4 other guys. But that's not going to happen anyway. And no, if you're getting 3 or 4 offers the same way, you're not going to let that go. But the thing is, I think you really can get a team's like top 5 and like a team's like 15 and 20. And to me, that is good enough.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. But at the same time, he is going to be pushing 30. So I think of, and I'm not saying he's like this, but what is it really going to cost? And maybe for him, it's not going to be cost like a $150 million deal. But even 90 seems a little bit scary for a guy that's going to be like getting that contract to 31 because you might not live up to it.
But let me ask you this. So the kind of haul that you're talking about, a top 5, a 15, and a 20, that's like a Machado type of haul. That's what we were getting for Machado, was a top 5, a 15, and a 20 prospect. You think a Trey Mancini at 29 years old, who is a corner infielder, maybe can play a little bit of a corner outfield as well, 29 years old, who's about a 270-ish career hitter, is worth that kind of a haul to another team?
If it's a team that's just desperate that thinks that his bat fills a hole or fills an injury hole for them getting to the playoffs and winning it all, because that's what the Dodgers were. Mm-hmm. They thought he's the winning component. It turned out it was actually Mookie Betts and not Manny Machado. But if you've got a team that does exactly what the Dodgers want, where at the time, that's the same thing. And you could, but then, okay, you can be negative and think, all right, yeah, if that's what you got from the Dodgers, we haven't seen it yet because Kramer's so touch and go, and we haven't seen Diaz in the majors yet to know.
Right.
I mean, I get that perspective from it, but that's what I'm saying with Trey. For me, it's like, I'm not saying you don't take crap. Obviously, you're not going to take crap, but I have a feeling with him. There's just there's gonna be a trade. Like they're gonna trade him, and you're gonna look back like, nope, I like that deal.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna like what you hear. Because you get to a point where, what's that next contract going to be? Because when he gets that contract, you're not winning that year.
Well, and here's the thing with that, because I just looked it up. So next year, you have to have a team that's willing to deal with the salary arbitration potential here, because he's up for arbitration again next year. He was up for arbitration this year. He got 4.75 coming off everything that happened. He got 4.75 for this year,
which is a drop in a bucket.
Right. But if he continues playing well, it's going to wind up calling for more. Is a team going to be willing to take on that risk in arbitration?
Yeah, because it's not going to be like an $18 million risk.
It's not going to be 18, but it very well could jump up to 8. Is a team willing to take on that extra 4 or 5 million?
If it's a team like the New York Yankees?
That's what I'm saying. To Drew's point, it's going to be...
You know what I mean? There's so many teams that is a drop in the bucket. It really is.
It's going to be these power-hungry, money market teams that are going to make this type of deal. The only one that I could see potentially playing into this that's maybe not a big market team, but they've spent like a big market team later on, would be the Padres. And I only say that because if they get to the playoffs and they feel like they're one piece away, they got a ton of freaking talent to deal too.
That's the other thing. My two teams is San Diego and Chicago White Sox.
I can see the White Sox too. That's a good point.
I see San Diego because of the fact that they have a good prospect pool as well.
Yeah.
Right. The Yankees prospect pool right now is not the greatest. The Yankees have been buying a lot of their players recently. They got away from some of the building the homegrown talent type thing. The Boston Red Sox, they've gotten to that point where they've traded away some of the prospects to get that one more piece, right? They're going back into that cycle. So I think it is going to take the right team, but I just don't know if one of those teams is going to be willing to take the risk with the salary arbitration.
All right, so we got to talk about it. I talked about this last week. Is this a potential feel-good story for Major League Baseball? They had to do it.
They were listening.
Well, I don't know if they're listening to me, but either way, it came to fruition. Trey Mancini will be a participant at this year's MLB All-Star Home Run Derby. It's still my favorite all-star game spectacle of all the sports. The Pro Bowl sucks. The NBA basketball sucks. The only thing I like about NBA basketball is, like, I used to like the dunk contest, but even that's terrible. I still like the three-point shooting contest because how can you fuck that one up? But I like it. And then the home run derby contest.
See, this is one thing that and we talked about this before when it comes to like the all-star game.
And what they've done with the home run derby contest as far as rules and reforming at it, I really like it.
It's definitely getting better.
It's got Ryan approval.
I was going to say, as the guy that needs the extra entertainment, this is the one thing in my whole lifetime MLB has done right. The home run derby still holds my attention, and like Fred said, the new rules and the bonus, all this weird stuff they've done, they've never really sidestepped it.
But I'd love to see them get more involved and take a somewhat of a Pro Bowl-esque approach when it comes to some of the skills challenges. We've talked about this. Put some targets out on the field and see if some of these guys, some of these natural hitters, not just the home run guys, can these natural hitters hit it? Can they hit these targets? Can a pitcher? I thought about the idea the other day, and I'm sure somebody else has thought about it before me. Put a window pane up there, and with certain points, and you get, as a pitcher, you get 5 pitches. How many points can you
zombies on a board of wood out
throw
there?
axes at it.
So what Scott's saying is the All-Star game is the worst part of the weekend, so do more other things.
Yeah,
and I agree. The All-Star game is boring as hell, and the rest of it's awesome.
It's only
I even like the celebrity softball tournament. That's fun.
Exactly. It's the extra stuff, but that's even like that's kind of the thing that I was getting at. And it's great to see Trey getting the invite and then accepting the invite, but some of these a-holes on Twitter, god damn. Sitting there saying
every day.
His play doesn't warrant it. He's tied for 37th in homers with 14 as of Monday. Look at it from a bigger perspective, guys. He's leading his own team. He came back from kids. This was a storybook. And I guarantee you, this will be the story of the home run derby, him coming in here.
It's going to be a great story. They're going to run with it. You guarantee it. There's going to be a 20-minute segment on it. It's going to be some exposure for the Orioles, which is going to be good, too.
Standing ovation coming his way.
You can't sit there and be like, oh, well, he's 37th in home runs and this, that, and the other thing. When you're top of the top, the Mike Trouts of the world, the Fernando Tatis, and Guerrero's not going to be in it this year either. You got the best of the best guys that aren't going to be participating in it. Yeah, you got to have storylines.
And I think too that Drew brought up some of the comps and was kind of some of the things that are coming up. Drew, what were you finding on some of the comps? Like with some of the other guys?
The main one that struck me was Pete Alonso. Now, granted, you didn't have the All-Star last year, but he's the defending home run derby champ because that year before he hit like 55.
Right.
He's only got 11. And their batting average is similar. He's got like 12 less RBIs. Their OPS is similar. So they're on the, what I mean? They're on the same page, and he's in it.
Yeah. Shohei in it.
Well,
Trevor Story falls in that same category
Shohei,
too.
that's awesome. Thank God Shohei's in it.
Yes.
I like Trevor Story, but I think that's kind of like the same situation. Yeah. But to those assholes out there, what the hell else are you going to do when guys like Guerrero and Tatis, these stars, Acuna, and I'm fine with those guys not doing it because we've seen how the Derby can really mess up a guy, and it can. It's not a science, but it's real. But when these breakouts and these stars aren't doing it, it's like hello. It's just like the dunk contest. The dunk contest got watered down because the stars stopped doing it. LeBron's and all them of the world were too afraid of being embarrassed by not winning the thing. It's the same thing. Like you've never really seen like Trout and all them in it because they're too afraid to lose it.
Right. No, I get that. 100%.
The other thing that I just kind of wanted to bring up, this more kind of coming back for a second to the Orioles, is the All-Star break the time to reassess, bring some of these guys up? I know we kind of hit on this a little bit, but do you start reassessing at the All-Star break? Do you bring up some of these other guys in Norfolk? right? If you're just looking to fill a spot, do you make the room in Norfolk by bringing these guys up and then taking half of the Bowie team and moving them up?
For me,
to Norfolk?
There's no difference in June or July as far as bringing somebody up when you're at the bottom of the standings in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
So there's no difference whether you bring them up now, you bring them up in a month from now.
But
I'm starting to look at September at that point. Like I have no benefit in bringing them up other than getting them a couple more months of exposure. But then again, you're starting these players' clocks a year earlier than you want to start them. So I just think the benefit long term is better to keep them until September.
But is there that many names in Norfolk that we're ready to bring up?
I mean, there's names that you could rotate in and out. There's not a bunch of guys.
You're going to have
if you're talking about bringing them up from Bowie to AAA.
No, I'm saying you're taking the guys that are in AAA right now, bringing and taxi squatting them up and down at the major league level to make room for some of these Bowie players to go up in Norfolk. If you want to get them closer to that major league level, right, then doing that is the way to go. If you're not going to have them make the jump, you give them that experience and you kind of get a better idea towards the end of the year where you stand with this team.
Good, Drew.
I would say yes. Now, especially with a guy who I'm very fond of, Kyle Bradish.
Yeah.
If you're telling me I'm not even going to say July, but if you're saying, I'll just say August 15th. If you're telling me that guys like Bradish and Kevin Smith have moved up to AAA where they are, and they're they look really good, and their ERAs are 2.5, those are the kind of guys that have can you bridge the gap to get Rodriguez and Hall there in a year or 2 years after,
right?
Where if they pan out, great, there's a cornerstone. My caveat for that would be, I want to see stuff like that happen. I don't want to see that to happen in August or say August 1st, and then you're up and down.
Yeah.
Where they said they weren't going to really do that, and they've kind of done that, but it's guys that have just tanked, or Kramer needs to eat innings down there because it's not working up there right now. So I'd like to see guys from AAA like that, or like a Brett Cumberland. I'd like to see those kind. Like Nevin, I like to see you come up and stay here. Right. But if you're going to come up and then you're going to
just shuttle them back and forth,
then hell no.
It's not worth it.
Please don't do that, because you said you weren't. It happened a little bit, but not to a huge degree. So as long as it stays that little bit, not that huge degree, I want to see those guys. But like I said, if they're going to come up, I want you to know they're coming up and they're staying up.
I agree. All right, Scott, it's time for the Liquor Stop Brew of the Week. And what do we got today?
So this
one's kind of a fun surprise.
Yeah, this one comes from Peabody Heights Brewery. It's Blinded Me with Science. It's a Belgian wit, 4.9%. This thing is actually not that bad. It's fairly smooth, but it tastes familiar. And
it tastes real familiar.
I can't figure out why. Ryan, did you figure out why yet?
I think we figured out
Our local scientist here has undiscovered
Mr. Trash Wheels. Mr. Trash Wheels Lost Python Ale.
Conveniently rebranded with a very nice sticker.
They found out
over
people
the
like my
original
wife
can.
did not like snakes, and they were not buying the original cans, and therefore you have to rebrand.
So you just open it. What do you think? What's your taste? What's your initial taste on this?
Do you want my honest opinion?
Give it, man. It's 200.
Tastes like it came from a trash wheel. No, it's. I don't know how to explain this, but it almost has a soapy undertone to me.
I'm glad I didn't open this shit.
I don't like it.
Well, they had to wash the old beer out.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
Should have put it in the dishwasher.
So that was the brew of the week. But I was there, and this one was just above it at Liquor Stop. And it caught my attention.
This one I could get down with.
It's called Berry Gelato, which is surprising. We'll get to that. It's 6% ABV. It's called Berry Gelato. It's from Black Flag Brewing Company. So it's a raspberry, blueberry, blackcurrant sour. This is the thing that got me Fred likes this? But it's mixed with milk, sugar, and vanilla.
That's it.
This thing pours it pours pink. And you get that original taste from it. What?
I don't know why it sounded so funny. I don't have one of those cans, so you have to look on Scott Drew's cam there.
It's there.
There you go. Drew's got it.
Nah, it's good.
It's good.
I'm a big raspberry fan, so anything that's flavored raspberry is good in my book. And you're right. Usually I don't like sours. And Ryan, earlier in the show before we went live, it's kind of put a good description out. He said it almost has like a Sour Patch Kid kind of undertone to it, like the kind of feeling
It's
that
a
it leaves in the
candy
back of your
sour
throat.
almost, yeah.
I agree with him on that. It does have a candy kind of taste to it, and a 6.0 ABV. I'm down with it.
It's
a
not.
good beer.
It's not bad at all. This is actually pretty good. I'm glad I picked this up because this one's pretty good. I think. Did somebody just crack the long drive?
Yeah, actually, it's actually pretty good. I like it. It's it's a really good taste. It's smooth. It's not overpowering. It's gluten free. You know,
Yeah.
you're worried about the thing. I'm not, but it's still good.
So that was from Alecraft Brewery, and it's the Long Drive Blonde Ironbird Ale. So it's got a long blonde on there with an Ironbird hat on. Not bad and pretty good. I think I've had it before, but glad to get.
Hey, this is a note specifically for Scott. It says, always keep cold.
Was your beer cold?
It was cold.
It wasn't.
Okay.
How would you describe a long blonde? What's the difference between a long blonde and a short blonde?
It's not long black. And by that, I mean the fact that you eat my mic every time that you're over here.
All right, Ryan, it's time for some shell and tell. Not a whole lot going on with
Drew, you can go pee. Another long time running joke.
Yeah,
I'll be doing that. I pointed that out.
Not a whole lot going on this week with the football program. We talked about last week. We did get a quarterback commit. We did get one more commit this year, more of an athlete than he is a specific position.
Yeah, Perry Fisher out of Tallahassee, Florida. He's a 2022 three-star athlete, 6'2", 185. He ran a 4.5 40, so he's definitely an athlete.
Now, he's playing quarterback currently, is that
Right,
correct?
and he plans to continue quarterback his senior year in high school, but the coaches at this level look at him more as a wide receiver. At quarterback last year in 2020, completed 62.3% of his passes for 1,433 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Also added 289 yards and 9 touchdowns on the ground.
So let me ask you, I mean, just based on the skill set and everything that we've heard about this kid, what do you think the coaches are going to try to meld him into?
They're saying wide receiver is where they're looking at.
Wide receiver, okay.
I think he'll definitely start there. I do not hate, as a Maryland fan, that we now have a defensive end and a wide receiver with very good high school quarterback experience. Because we have been on our 5th and 6th quarterback some years.
Hashtag depth chart.
Yeah,
Forward thinking.
We definitely have our 5th and 6th depth chart spots locked. I no longer have to worry about Ruben Hippolyte being our starting QB. Yeah. There will be people in front of him.
That's right.
That will be available.
That's good. That's good news. Well, in not so good news, depending on where you're at with this whole thing.
I saw this. I'm curious to get Ryan's take.
Yeah, on the basketball side, we have been waiting for the big 3 to drop. Well, we finally first got the first shoe to drop as Daryl Morcell has announced that he is moving on from the program. He is going to Marquette.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you asked me when this started, this was the worst case scenario for me. Was
it worst?
I mean, it got
Duke
worse.
Could have been much
It got
worse.
worse. The worst case scenario was, when I say that, is his options were go pro, either NBA, which was probably not happening, overseas, which maybe could have happened, come back, or go to another school. Right. So if I had to rank them, I would have been come back, pro, another school.
Right.
So that's where my worst case scenario is coming from. But yes, it came out that Duke was on a list of places he could have went, so that would have real hurt my soul. So this is not that bad.
And Coach K's finale.
Yeah, it makes sense for. I mean, I don't know why he wanted to leave, other than he will get more playing time at Marquette.
See, now that's my question. This is a guy who's going into his 5th year. He was the defensive player of the year last year. He's the leader of that squad. I get it that he's not a huge impact on the offensive side of the ball, right? And maybe that's what it is. Maybe Mark Turgeon's looking for more scoring production from that position. But when it comes to playing time, if that really is, I can't see him getting that much more playing time at Marquette.
Well, that's just all we had at Maryland. When we talked last year, we had a ton of 3s and 4s. That we were stacked.
But he was a really good 3-4 in the sense that he was the defensive player of the year.
Yeah, I mean he was a 3 more than a 4 for sure in that scenario. But that was the only place we were loaded, and I guess he saw that. And plus, he's trying to be a more well-developed player for his pro career. He has learned probably everything he's ever going to learn from Mark Turgeon. Right. I mean, so if he can go with Shaka Smart, who's supposedly new, up-and-coming, cool coach to be with, and learn something.
He didn't do very good at his last night.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but Morcell had nice things to say about him. He's a defensive-minded coach again. He thinks he's going to get a lot of playing time with that.
DeAndre Haynes is up there, too,
DeAndre
right?
Haynes left the Terps as assistant coach and is now with them in Marquette. He mentioned that DeAndre Haynes is the one that recruited him, and also they had like a big brother relationship. We're really close in the 2 years they worked together down there.
Listen, I don't hate it. We appreciate everything that he did for us in the 4 years. Like Mark Turgeon even said in his heartfelt Twitter announcement that he put out, post that he put out, he'll always be a Terp forever.
I'm just sad about how he went out. Like if he would have had his last year with us, and then say it was instead of COVID, because then you wouldn't have this. If it was like an injury, a red shirt that he got that he could go somewhere else for a 5th year.
Right.
If he had that tour and he had the senior night and he had Xfinity Center appreciate him, I'd be like, yeah, this makes complete sense. But to have 3 years of that amazing experience at Maryland, and for your capstone to be this empty building, that's where it gets me in the field. You know what I mean?
100%.
That's why I wanted him back, was so he could have his victory lap.
I guess the only thing for me that didn't kind of translate here is being that defensive player. You're not rounding your game anymore by going somewhere that you're going to be with a guy that's a defensive minded coach. Like I get it to an extent that it's his choice. He's trying to do something to but I don't see anything here that's going to elevate his value any more than it already was, being the defensive player of the year and being a guy that could really, in all reality, somewhat lead this team. I guess it had me. I get it. It's his choice. I wish him the best of luck. I just think I am way less of a fan of this than you guys are. But in my basic understanding, my basic knowledge, I kind of question this. Was like, okay, does this hurt him and his chances of going pro more than it does help him?
So the other thing that you have to take into consideration here is the fact that this is a COVID extra year that he got, right? So a lot of times in recruiting, when Turgeon or any coach is recruiting a player, there are some kind of handshake agreements in place as far as playing time and when you're going to play and that kind of thing. And you're factoring in, well, Morcell's going to be gone after this year, so I'm going to have James Graham come in, and he's going to be playing 25 minutes, so I'm committing. That's how I'm getting this guy to commit to me, is that I can promise you in 1 year from now, you're going to have 25 minutes per game. Well, now an extra year of Daryl Morcell throws a monkey wrench into that. Then you risk losing a guy like a James Graham. I'm only using his name as an example.
Makes sense.
It could be anybody. And then you risk mortgaging the next 3 or 4 years or trying to find that replacement for that player that you promised that time to. So I think it was a bittersweet kind of mutual parting of ways. It's just kind of my take on it.
I think my take is a couple things. Offense is what he has to prove. Was he going to be an offensive weapon with the Terps? Even if he was here and playing 40 minutes a game, he would have been like 3rd or 4th fiddle down the line.
Right.
At Marquette, maybe they give him some time at the 2 even. Maybe they give him some, show that I can play 2-3 for your European League. The other thing is, if he is as close with DeAndre Haynes as we think he is, and he got some bad feedback on the pro level that like, hey bro, NBA's out and like Europe's iffy. If you are guaranteed a grad assistant position with DeAndre Haynes the year after this, where you can get into the coaching route, where you can go down that way to make money on basketball.
You can still stay within basketball, just not how you originally planned.
So like there could be another fallback plan there, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, the kid like has given us everything he could when he's been here, and he earned the right to do it. Oh yeah, I know that you're not arguing that, but people are like people were commenting even as little
that's
things.
Just stupid. I am way at a different level than you guys are, lower level when it comes to this knowledge. But my initial thought process was just like, and I didn't think about those things. And you guys bring up great points. I guess I just look at it, if his true path is wanting to play pro ball, you want to round out your game a little bit more, and it doesn't seem on paper that you're going to a place that's going to help you round out your game. It seems like you're going to a place that's just going to try to show what we already know and was proven. And if that's the case, I felt like my initial gut instinct was like, that could almost hurt him more. Yeah. Because if he doesn't play at that high level at Marquette, but he was playing at it here, he winds up. And I know he could take that same risk playing here, but at least he's in a system that he already knows with Turge, and the way that he plays and coaches. agree or disagree of the way that he does it, but I just it had me scratching my head. That's why I was curious to get your take. You make me think about it, so that's why I like your takes.
Going to these like scouting combines and talking to these scouts and whatnot, they're telling them and they're in their ear about what they need to work on, right? And some of those things are things that he might not have been able to work on here at Maryland, but those are things that Marquette
might be able to do it.
Like Ryan was saying, maybe you come here and you could play 2-3. Well, he's not going to play 2-3 here at Maryland with the guards that we have. So potentially, I think that's the.
Yeah, when you think about European basketball, I mean, all basketball is a show. It's that's what it is. And European basketball even more so. Like you're trying to bring fans in. That's where they make the money, really. Yeah. So offense always brings more fans. I mean, he needs to show that he's going to bring something on that end. Because he can go win some games in the European League. He can lock some people down.
100%.
But winning is that the number one thing there. They need to put on a show.
All right, so one shoe is dropped. The other shoe that we talked about last week was that Aaron Wiggins was going to go to the NBA Combine and he was going to showcase his stuff. He had moved up the boards. He wasn't even in the top 64 at the time, and now they're saying that he is. He's in the top 50 at this point. What happened at the NBA Combine?
Yeah, so we talked about last year, the G League Combine got him the invite to the NBA. Did very well all the way through there.
Yep.
The NBA Combine day one went very poorly for him. I guess that's good for Maryland, quote unquote. Who knows? Wiggins shot 1 for 9 with 4 turnovers on Thursday at the Chicago Combine. On Friday, went a lot better, bounced back with a really solid exposure. Blew past some people on the drives, shot well. This is what Wiggins is.
He's a streaky player.
This is the hot and cold Wiggins we've seen. I mean, so I don't know what this does. I don't think it does much.
So tell me, when does he actually have to make his decision by?
Yeah, so the NBA draft is July 29th, but all decisions are made by July 7th. And this is both, we still have no official withdrawal from Eric Ayala or Aaron Wiggins. Eric Ayala is not going to the NBA. No. He hasn't been on this list anywhere. So I assume that we will get a non-announcement with him or an announcement with both of them.
That'd
you know what I mean? It'll just be like a quiet air, whatever. But I hope, for my sake, that they both come back. And I hope if he does not come back that he gets what he wants, because I feel like this is that he's really on that window.
He's in that bubble.
Yeah. We're like the Bruno window, where Bruno was so excited to get picked up in the second round because he almost went undrafted. Right. It was getting real sketchy there. Right. Like, I just don't want to see him in that situation. If he goes, I want to see him happy with it.
Speaking of announcements, the program announced today they got another transfer in. I mentioned earlier a player like James Graham. This is another guy that came into college basketball early last year at 17 years old and showed some good vibes and some good talent. So another piece to fill to the roster.
Yeah, Ahmed let us know about a week ago about this guy. Told us to keep it quiet, and then Ahmed actually was the first one to break it publicly also. So good.
Nice.
Give Ahmed Gafir a little pump up there. I'm going to try the name, Pavlo Dzuba. A transfer from Arizona State. It's close. We'll find out later. Dzuba turns 18 next week. We just got a 17-year-old that's already played in Division I.
Right.
He was the youngest player in college basketball last season, so he was basically Arizona's version of James Graham.
That's what I was saying.
Basketball, high school basketball was a nightmare with COVID, so a lot of people entered early, did whatever they could. So he went there. He played a whole 4.1 minutes over 8 games. And average like 0.4 points a game.
Right.
But honestly, 0.4 points a game in 30 seconds is pretty good.
Pretty good.
That's a point a minute.
It's not bad.
That's pretty good.
And for those that care about the star ratings, he was a former 4-star, correct?
Yeah, he was a former 4-star. He's 6'8", 225, so he's got the frame. We've got a Donnie Scott backup.
Right.
We've needed some help there because Dante Scott's our backup for our 5.
Right.
But quote Wahab. So you need somebody to back him up, so this could work out pretty nicely there. When he did play European ball, he played with the U16 team. He did really well in 2019, averaged 13.8 points, 9.3 rebounds, and 2.1 assists, 1.4 blocks, 54.5% shooting, and big one for forward, 32% from 3. So the guy had some good stats. Now, that's U16 in Europe. It's not... we don't really understand what that competitive is. Who knows?
Right.
But and obviously didn't really get the shot at Arizona. But at 17 years old, when was he going to get the shot?
Yeah, and I think this is a good move, too, for many reasons. You got the guy, Ian Martinez, that transferred in from Utah. He just got banged up. He's out with an injury now, so they needed this, I think, for depth purposes. And, again, you pair him with another young guy in James Graham. That's a pretty formidable front court, so I like it a lot.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, fellas, it's time for the 2-minute warning, episode 200 style. So we appreciate everybody tuning in, staying with us through this episode. I know it's been a long one. But we got a couple of good questions.
I was going to say, actually, it really hasn't been that long that I'm thinking about it. Like, it feels long to us because it was like 25 minutes of like talking about the video montage or whatever. But actually, like, we've kind of run through it because it's been a little bit faster.
All right.
Good.
All right, so who's asking the first question? Who's answering?
I got you.
You going first.
All right.
In true 200 level questions, we're keeping this about the show.
Okay.
So your favorite memories from our first 200 shows, and go.
Favorite memories. I guess one of them's got to be episode 100. Just the massive turnout that we got from that just goes to show how much love and support we get from everybody out there. Obviously, the runts and the ramblings and stuff that we get into and the going back and forth. Yeah, man, I can't pinpoint one specific memory because there's just so many.
Yeah, I think for me, it's definitely the 100 episode is up there for me. You know, going back and digging a little bit deeper, I would say the first NFL draft that we did, the memory with that, even though it was a failure at a point, that was fun. I think to me another big moment was the hashtag Lamar effect that you started. Our banter's back and forth on that for so long. That was really well. And for the insiders that didn't know, yes, I was poking the bear on purpose at times. Okay. All right. What's the second question?
Where do you see the show in episode 300?
Continuing to grow. I think that the first branch off of this Birdland BS brand was obviously Shell and Tell, and I think over the next course of the next 100 episodes, I think that's going to be the next step in growth, is continuing to branch off. We might do a separate show for the Ravens specifically and a separate show for the Orioles specifically, and kind of create Birdland BS, the umbrella. Ryan and I have been talking about that for a while. We've all kind of been expecting that to happen at some point, so I'd like to see that in the next 100 episodes.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think the other thing that you and I we did a better job this year than we did the previous year, and I think it's going to be a continued goal for us is continuing to get more and more guests, and it just just dawned on me the fact that I didn't even bring this one up. Jeremy Kahn in studio, local celebrity, bringing us the Mo Gabba bobblehead that we've got sitting here. I think there's a lot that's there, but I think having him on more and having just some more bigger name guests is a big goal for us. And I think 300 we're going to do live. We got to do live again, and we got to have a big time guest for it.
No, I agree with that. All right, Scott, it's been fun. Episode 200 in the books. Sign us out.
It's 200. Why the hell am I still reading off this damn thing?
Know.
It's going out the door. So here we go. Check us out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, you can check out all of our episodes. Get yourself some Birdland BS gear. For the first time in a long time,
I had to break it out.
Fred is wearing Birdland BS gear.
Go back and look at the photos. I was wearing this on episode 100. Same shirt.
So go get yourself some gear. You can check out the Shell and Tell podcast that Fred and Ryan do each week. I know it's slow right now for them, but as that picks up in the season, they'll be doing more of those. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you also check us out on Big Play and birdlandsports.com. Make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe on all the social media pages. At Birdland BS is how you find us, or you can just do /Birdland BS. That's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. That's how you find us. Birdland BS is look us up. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and leave us some comments, questions that you may have. We try to bring them up on the show. I know our buddy Garnett always is trying to get us some. Craig Zero is another one that gets us a bunch. So appreciate it to all of you guys for it. Craig, speaking of which, sorry I'm late and had stuff to do. He's missing the 200.
Sorry,
That's
man.
all right,
Life
buddy.
happens.
But make sure you also send us those comments, and also check us out on the audio version of the show. Notice I said show this week, not podcast. We had that announcement today. We are rebranding to the Birdland BS Show. Make sure you check us out moving forward every Tuesday night, Eastern Standard Time. For Fred, James, who's not here, Ryan, Drew, and myself, happy 200. It wouldn't be 200 without you, the fans. Stay tuned for the after hours and last call for alcohol. We'll see you guys.
Thank you. See ya. It's time for the after party.
Last call for that alcohol.
So, according to Facebook, it's exactly 2 years from our first Shell and Tell post. Isn't that weird that 200 and 2 years of Shell and Tell landed on the same exact day?
I did not know that.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I just reposted that today. It's a pretty crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Oh, man.
I think we went to that Bowie game a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, right? That Bowie game said, and you know that wasn't my idea.
The universe willed it into existence.
The universe willed it into existence.
Yeah. So one of the things I did want to bring up, and well, I'm just going to bring it up on air. I was going to talk about it afterwards, but
that's fine.
You and I were talking about. We've been talking about wanting to go golf, and we've done Top Golf before. We talk about trying to get a golfing together. We'll have to talk after hours, but I got an idea for maybe this Sunday. I know it's 4th of July. But if everybody's free, maybe an early tea time.
That's going to be up to ladies.
I'll do it virtually from Ocean City.
Jesus Christ.
Sounds like it's just going to be
It's
you
just
and I,
gonna be you and me. All right. It is what it is. I tried a 200 celebration off air.
Were there any other good comments out there? Anything, Ryan, that we didn't bring up?
I guess the only one I definitely want to bring up is Garnett West. So you were talking about the skills competition in baseball. Garnett says NFL needs to bring back the fastest man competition, the bitch press competition, the hands competition, the strongest arm. He definitely corrected himself to bench, but I think bitch press will be a little bit more entertaining.
How many bitches can you press?
Even if it's just yours, just press her lots of the coordination you got to do to keep her stiff and lift it.
It can be a little harder than holding on to a bar.
That weight's a little harder.
Birdland BS Show is canceled.
You're keeping her stiff. Isn't her job to keep you stiff?
There we go. If we weren't, we finished it.
Not on that deck, they're not.
Jesus Christ.
Well, this rebranding worked out well for one episode.
This is after hours. This shit gets just not going to anybody. These are only our real fans.
Any other good
There's nothing
comments that
wrong
came
being
through?
said.
Any other good comments, Ryan?
I'm just looking right now. Looks like PFF's being talked about again. We kind of blew that up already.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Craig's here. Yeah, you were late for that. You gotta go back and listen.
There's a long thing about it. You go for it. Engraven checked in, so he one another person that checked in late. Now Orioles. How many Orioles make the All-Star game? I guess don't we already know that?
No.
I know they're voting for the starters.
Make the
now.
All-Star game. It's looking like one.
Yeah, I think it's only one.
It's
Means
gonna be
isn't gonna
Mullins.
make it.
It's gonna be Mullins because he's not gonna get the vote, but
He's not gonna get the starter vote.
He's not gonna get the vote, but he's gonna be selected because every team
has
gets
to get
one.
one.
Right.
But you're looking at a guy like Kevin Cash as the manager, so you have a little firsthand knowledge of this team. I could see Trey sneaking in just because, but then I think that's what the nod was with the Derby, so I don't think Trey really has a chance right now. But it's definitely Mullins is definitely making it. He ain't gonna be a starter, sadly, but he probably should be at this point.
And Joe Carlos is asking if we can talk about the Bundy puking incident.
Well, we kind of hinted
We don't
at
want
it.
Scott to run to the bathroom.
That was hilarious. When I saw it on Twitter, and at first I saw it, I'm like, is that Dylan Bundy? I'm like, I can't be Dylan Bundy. Then I saw it in the back of his jersey, I'm like, oh, man. And that guy, he can put away some alcohol from what I've heard. So I don't know if it was alcohol related. I don't know if it was heat related
like 100
or if it was
degrees out.
a combination of both.
Was
or what.
this on the field? I don't know anything
No,
about
it
it.
was on the
right
mound.
on the mound.
Yeah.
So maybe he was trying to keep spider tack in his cheek, and he just could not handle it.
That's hilarious. Did you see them trying to start some shit on Twitter about Hunter Harvey? He was in the he was in the bullpen last night, and I guess one of the trainers in the video from the bullpen comes up to him and puts something here underneath his sleeve, which you can't really tell what he's doing while he's there. But from what everybody was saying is, one, it was his throwing arm. So, like, how are you going to get to it if it's your throwing arm? One. And then two.
Can you do that again, though?
And then two, they were saying it was icy hot.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Makes sense on a throwing arm.
Right. If it makes
Can't do that.
Yeah, it's
just people just trying to start shit. Right?
Yeah. Well, we saw this past week the first pitcher get thrown out. For the tacky substance, which I think you said, Drew, you thought it was. They were saying it was rosin, but it was on the inside of the glove.
His explanation was, it was just rosin. The manager said it was just rosin. His quote backing up the rosin was, "I just use stuff that you give us to use anyway." So, okay, say it was rosin, and now I've heard a thing. I think of the video I posted to you guys a couple of days ago from a former player. It used to happen all the time where that was not your advantage, but that was literally the way you would be able to grip these balls because they were when they're so new, regardless of what the mud they rub on them, they're still super slick.
Yeah.
So that's what they used to do, and that would be the one that you wouldn't frown upon. Would take the rosin bag, you'd have sunscreen or a lotion and your sweat, and the rosin gave you a stick, but not like it stuck to your goddamn hand and it never came off.
Well, but
which is what it evolved to.
But you had Trevor Bauer, who I don't know if you guys pay attention to his ball. I follow his vlog.
They were like massaging his hand on the field the other day.
They were because he was looking at the substance. Well, he proved he did it on his vlog. He goes out, he's prepping, and it's funny because all the guys are walking by and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm showing him how." He literally takes water, pours it on his hand, rubs it all up, takes the rosin, puts his hand sweat, all legal.
Right.
And he takes the ball, and you can see it doesn't like fully stick right away.
But it gives him something.
But it gave him something. You could clearly see it stuck to his hand for quicker than just it wasn't just dropping out of his hand.
Put
It
a
was
whole
sticking
bunch of hair gel in your hair, and when you sweat, that shit starts to tack back up, and just and then bang.
Yeah.
That extra hold will hold.
Well, and they were
90s hair gel.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were looking at his hand and feeling. I thought they were going to say something because if they do that, knowing what the Trevor Bauer MLB knows, Trevor Bauer did that video.
Right.
He will have a fucking field day if he ever gets thrown out for that shit.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, see, that's what blows my mind because, like you said, it's stuff that is allowable.
Right.
The whole point of what they're doing was when you hear about like Spider Tech or Pine Tar or stuff that's literally like that substance being used, not like, oh, you were allowed to use lotion and rosin and water or sweat. Those are all fine. It's when you're using shit that like, oh, I went to goddamn a sporting goods store or whatever and got some kind of grease and then put it back here. You know what I mean? That's the thing that everyone's talking about.
Magisil.
Crisco.
You ain't trying. You using it, you ain't trying. You little jalapeno in my nose.
Yeah.
You ain't cheating.
No. That's the thing is it's just crazy that it's like, okay, but the combination of these things creates a stickiness. So you leave it up to interpretation. It's crazy how they've done it. And the fact that you're going to, you brought up pine tar.
But the batter still uses it.
Pine tar's legal on a bat, but only to a certain a certain point on the bat. They don't. I can't say the last time I've seen an umpire check a bat, and the bat looks pretty damn dirty to me.
They don't.
Yeah.
You got that certain point. I guarantee that it goes above that certain point that George Brett got furious for years and years ago.
Let's change it up a little bit because we don't talk NBA basketball in here very often. Craig Zero is asking, who do you think will be in the NBA Finals? So right now you've got Milwaukee going against the Heat, which has been a pretty good series.
No Trae Young tonight.
Atlanta, not Heat.
I said Heat. I'm sorry. I meant Atlanta.
No Trae Young tonight.
No Trae Young tonight. He's dealing with an ankle injury.
Still got Kevin.
You got the Clippers and the Suns out west. Right now, personally, if I had to pick, I think it's going to be Milwaukee and the Suns. I think Devin Booker is the real deal. Him and I just want to see Chris Paul get a shot at a ring. That's a guy Ryan and I were talking about the other night. He's been in the league for freaking ever at this point.
He came back tonight, too.
It's the furthest he's ever gotten in his career. It's the closest he's ever gotten. I want to see him get a ring.
He's got to play more than 2 games in a row before I actually think he deserves a ring because he keeps sitting out all the time.
Well,
he's 39 years old or whatever
COVID protocol. It kind of didn't really
that wasn't an
affect
injury.
that.
But the shoulder he was out for before that, right?
He's played all the way. You talking about this playoffs?
Yeah.
He's
played
played
all
all
the
the
way
way.
through.
Okay, so he played like 3 minutes and then sat out with his shoulder. I'm sorry, I forgot.
But no, I think personally that's going to be the two teams that are in it. I like the Clippers. I think that they've got immense talent there, but for some reason it's not molding. It's not mending together.
Atlanta's up.
I was gonna say, I think
13 at the half.
I was gonna say I think Suns Hawks is where it's at. You have the.
I would love it, but
I just think the fact that they are down 2-1. It's going to motivate this young Hawks team. But I think in the end, I think the Suns might be the real deal to pull it out. I think they could pull out the championship because they do have a little bit more of the experience on their side.
Yeah, I agree. So that's our little bit of an NBA take. All right, we got to throw out some would you rather questions. We haven't done this in a while.
Right.
Herder's only got 6 points and they're winning like that. That's impressive.
Yeah, and no Trae Young.
Their points are coming just even across the board. Everybody's got like 8 points.
It's like you don't feed a superstar, it all works out.
All right, so my first would you rather. Would you rather be completely paralyzed when it rains?
When it rains, don't move to Seattle.
Would you rather be completely paralyzed when it rains or can't stop moving when the sun is out?
Ooh. I'm moving to Seattle.
Completely paralyzed. You can't go anywhere. You can't do shit when it rains.
That's cool. I'm
but
taking that one.
When it's raining or when it's sunny, you can't stop moving.
Sonny can't stop moving, hands down.
Out of your mind. I can move to Arizona or Nevada and be all right paralyzed 3 days out of the year.
It's a dry heat, so we'll be fine out
He
there.
always finds the loopholes.
That's my life.
No, I think it's a good assessment. I think that there's definitely areas you can find that are completely dry.
No, you got to stay in Maryland. We all live in Maryland.
You
We're
want to
not
put the
moving to
Maryland
Arizona.
caveat? All right,
Yes.
Maryland
Anytime
caveat.
soon.
Where you are now.
He's
Son.
moving around.
Yeah, I would definitely switch. I would definitely be Sun. If
You just can't stop moving. You're just always moving. When it's sunny, you can't stop moving.
If I can't cheat, and I'm not talking Mojave Desert because I don't want to move there, but if I can't cheat and go to a pretty damn dry climate, and I have to stay in Maryland, I'm going to not stop moving. I'm going to be paddleboarding every day it's sunny. Be doing all kinds of fun things.
It doesn't say where you have to move
honestly,
at.
my life right now, like, if it's sunny and I'm off work, I'm cutting 2 yards. I'm outside with the girl. It doesn't, not a lot's going to change, I don't think.
I guess the question would be if you're paralyzed, you're outside in the rain.
If it starts raining while you were there,
Yeah, wherever you are, you're completely paralyzed.
you just have to hold an umbrella always, just in case.
just in case.
You can't hold it. You're paralyzed.
And you would be paralyzed in the holding position. Like,
Voice command umbrella.
Scott's obviously never seen
Oh,
a paralytic
Jesus.
agent given to somebody. You'd hold it for a long time.
Oh man.
Oh, jeez. All right.
Yeah, I guess you sold me on this.
Anybody
Take
else
the
got one?
Sunny answer.
Anybody else got a would you rather?
You got the list. Go ahead.
All right. Would you rather only be able to whisper when you talk or shout for the rest of your life?
Well, I'm already shouting all the time, so. Me and Ryan already shout all the time, so.
Hey, can you pick me up something from the store? Milk, cake, and cheese.
That's just creepy.
Hey! Can you pick me up something from the store? Milk, cake, and cheese!
By
Scott
the
will
way-
continue to never be
Okay.
wrong.
All right. By the way,
Another running joke.
By the way, that second person exists already. I see that second person about every day I go to work. There is people that talk just like that. No one is that first person. No one just whispers to people all the time. But there is a whole bunch of
If you're a
people
severe introvert,
would you
down
rather?
Baltimore City that are screaming at people all the time.
Do you want to be one of those guys, or do you be the one guy that whispers all the time?
I mean, I'm already dang close to those guys.
You're
I'm one
very
step
close to the
away.
yelling guy.
I'd be the whisper person because all I got to do is get a megaphone. Then I'm talking normal.
Fred, what are you doing?
He got a loophole. Why can't I?
I think I'm going to be the whisper guy.
By the way,
There you go.
loud
There you
whispers
go.
are creeper than quiet whispers, Scott. So your loophole sucks.
I just said I'm bringing my volume up with a megaphone. That's it.
I think I'm going to be the whisper guy. Because, that little bit of yelling I just did right there hurt my throat. If I was doing that all the time,
Fred's not used to being as loud as me.
no, 100% not.
You can turn a whisper into being sexy.
I guess.
What?
Or creepy.
All right.
Where did this last call go?
All answers go back to his wife, so I guess she likes it when it whispers.
Drew?
Yeah, I already talk pretty loud usually, so that's a pretty easy answer, just like Ryan said. Even though I said that kind of quietly.
I was going to say, I don't see you
know
as
what I'm
being
talking
somebody who
about.
talks really loud all the time.
No,
I would not put
because
you in that
We have
category.
to get you to put the mic to your mouth.
Yeah, my problem becomes sometimes where it's like it's not like loud talking, but it's just like I get animated, and when I'm animated, that's when like it's like an abrupt loud, and or I can't hear myself because I'm deaf.
Craig Zero chiming in.
Nice.
Would you rather be blind so the Ravens win 2 Super Bowls with Lamar, or never be able to watch a Ravens game for it to happen?
Those are the same thing, though, Craig. If I'm blind, I can't watch him win 2 Super Bowls, and if I don't watch it, I didn't watch them. So let's change this up a little bit. He's in the right track.
You're blind, but you can only listen to the game.
Would you give up watching Ravens games in order for it to have 2 Super Bowls? So you're radioing it.
Yeah.
Or what's the opposite of that?
But am I only blind
Or
when
you
watching
can
the
watch
Ravens?
the Ravens, but they never win another Super Bowl.
Am I only blind when the Ravens are on? Because if I'm blind all the time, I'm not going that answer.
I mean, if I know they're not going to win the Super Bowl, I'm just going to not watch.
You need to be able to find the hole.
Yeah. All right. No, just you don't have a TV. We're just going, and you can't go to the game.
You can't go to the
so
game.
you will never get to see Lamar play, but he will win 2 Super Bowls. Or you get to watch Lamar, and they will never win a Super Bowl.
You just get to hear about the Super Bowls versus see them.
Die hard as can be, but 95% of the enjoyment of the Ravens is being able to be there and enjoy it and watch the games coming in. No way in hell do I want them to win 2 Super Bowls and me not be able to be a part of it or take it in.
Fred will take the AFC championships and move on with his life.
Yeah,
Yep,
100%.
exactly.
Absolutely.
I'm right there with him.
Hey, Gary Sandusky's a hell of a storyteller, though. If you only had to listen to it on the
Which one?
So
the good one.
I gotta ask this on air because this was hilarious when we were in the van.
Oh,
and
God.
it led to some good conversations. So I gotta ask this on air.
We learned a lot in that.
Is there a pair of underwear involved?
Yes.
Oh,
No!
yes. No, we don't need to hear anybody else's answer except for
answer
Fred.
your own goddamn
Come on
question.
now. If you find some streaks in your drawers and your underwear,
I'll say, what kind of drawers here?
your underoos, whatever you wear, are you washing them or throwing them away?
I'm going to answer for everybody on this side of the room. Washing them.
Everyone but Fred agrees.
Not washing them immediately, though. We're just
Where
throwing
are
them in
you
with a bunch of
washing
clothes.
them?
Put them in the fucking laundry.
The same place as every other one.
With the clothes? Like you're not? Are you washing them by
Other dirty
themselves?
clothes.
I mean, if it's I 5 pair of underwear today. It wasn't mine, but it was a 4-year-old's. So if it is a thick streak, it will get pre-rinsed in the laundry tub, which is why it exists to wash poop off things,
Yeah, pretty
whether
much.
it be shoes or underwear. And then if it is just a brown discoloration,
Nope.
I'm not doing nothing. I'm just throwing it in the
Nope.
wash.
Underwear are what? Like, $5 a pack, $6 a pack. Those underwear go in a Target bag, closed up, out in the fucking trash can to never be worn again. Never to be
Fred's embarrassed
cleaned,
that he
never to be
poops.
worn again. Listen, it doesn't happen very often. But if it were to happen, trash. I'll go to freaking
I'm pretty
TJ Maxx.
you
I'll
gotta-
go to
you know how-
fucking
wait, hold on.
Marshalls and buy myself some new underwear.
I sit next to him during the show. Do you know how many times I'm pretty sure now that he went home and threw his underwear away? Because I'm pretty sure he shit his pants.
All right, you got to get yourself a kid, man, because there's no way you're just like, fuck it, chuck it, football, it's going in.
No.
No, I'm telling you.
Not washing it in the sink. Now, granted, a laundry tub, I didn't think about that, but I'm thinking, like, washing it in the sink? No, that's not an option.
But nothing stops you from throwing like a pair of underwear in the washer by themselves.
Well, here's the.
what I'm asking. If
Here's
it
the
was you
next
do it
logical
myself.
question. Wipe your ass better, Fred. What the fuck?
I'm not asking this about me. I'm asking this about everybody.
I
And listen,
wipe my ass
you all
pretty
were
good.
very defensive about and knew very well what your tactics would
Because
be.
it
So,
happens
so did you. It's happened to you apparently.
Yeah, you said a Target bag.
Wait.
That was very
Hold on.
specific.
Let's throw this into another wrench because Fred apparently also has 3 washcloths.
oh, man.
But he doesn't throw the washcloths away.
Yeah, and we got a shower routine where we won't wash our legs properly. Except for me,
Jesus.
apparently.
Listen, I let the water and I let gravity do its thing. Anything below the kneecaps, once every 3-4 months, something like that below the kneecaps.
Yeah. If I've used a weed eater,
you got to be throwing away your socks then, obviously, at that point.
Now listen, if I've been sweating heavy or whatever, I'll pay a little extra attention to the feet. I get that area clean. But for the most part, I let gravity kind of do its thing.
Fred wears slides like 80% of the days you can see his legs. So he doesn't get dirty very often.
Oh my God.
Well, that's a wrap.
What a way to take out 200.
That was probably our best question and answer segment ever. Was that trip?
Also, congratulations to Craig's there. Even though we kind of had to readjust it, a fan, would you rather, is definitely where this should be headed.
That's next level.
We created this first award that has gone nuts. We will create the fans having the would you rathers, and they will bring them to us.
I like it. Well, maybe we'll have to put something out on Twitter and see if we can get some people to get us some would you rather after hours.
Promote
it.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate